I saw a new battery technology, I'd be investing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has to come quite a ways for it to. I don't know. I don't.
There's a lot of suckers that buy stocks that promise exactly that, and they're bullshit stocks.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't follow the business guys. Business guys are trying to spend.
What do you think? How do you think that would? Let's say hypothetically that they could develop this. How do you see that playing out as far as like how do they price that into an economy and make it to where it's like okay, it's affordable and accessible, but then at the same time like that's going to disrupt a lot of shit.
Yeah. We're in favor of what's called disruptive innovation. That's why there's like an entrepreneurial party called Disrupt or something. It's a economic theory developed by a Mormon Harvard economics professor by the name of Christian something. I remember his first name was Christian. It might be his last. Either way.
Rosenkreutz.
Christian what?
Rosenkreutz.
Okay, whatever. Either way, this guy, what he did was he was looking at the development of hard drives. Because hard drives had so much investment in them, they often dominated a field and then died very quickly. So he said that this was like an increased evolutionary scale. So you can look at the longer term prospects of companies by focusing on these companies that lived very quickly and then died. And what he noticed, like he tried to understand why are these guys succeeding so quickly and then losing out to some new entrant every single time. And he looked into it, and his theory is disruptive innovation. His theory was that each one of the participants was following sound business theory as they were marketing to their customers and maintaining innovations that their customers wanted and were interested in. But as they were doing that, answering the needs of their customers, one of their people, there'd be like some new entrant that did some slight iteration, like they did it a little bit heavier and a different style of hard drive, which would be not backwards compatible. It wouldn't even be useful to like the 80% of their customers. But because this new guy did it, he marketed to the 20 that weren't being met. And because he grabbed that market share, it improved his own technology to the point where it was better than the other one, and then he conquered, right? Until the same thing happened to him. And it happens over and over. As the people focus on the desires of their customers, they miss out on tiny complaints from a small percentage of their customers that then become met by a new entrant, and the innovations and technologies that new entrant engages in topples the existing hierarchy. And that's why they call it disruptive. So the current theory in entrepreneurship and business, and especially Silicon Valley, is try it, and it's great. If you fail, great. If you succeed, great. Everything is a new attempt to dismantle an existing norm, whether it be Google, Apple, Uber, Twitter.
Right.
All of them are subject to conquest.
I get it, but in this context, we're fundamentally talking about energy, which is the most valuable thing, and effectively making it as efficient as possible. And there's always going to be the need for energy. And so I think it's a little bit different because if at some point you make it so efficient to where you're in a spot where, okay, you create something that someone can buy once and they never need to purchase it again. I'm like making it very simple, obviously. There's not really what's the incentive in a capitalistic society to do that?
What?
To have the everlasting gobstopper. Right, the thing that runs.
Yeah,
forever.
but you guys are assuming that just because you make a new iteration, it's going to be commercially successful or exponentially commercially successful. There's a whole mimetic, marketing, linguistic communication component that makes that successful. There's just so much that goes into it that to think that just because you create something a little better, that it's going to, become the big next new thing. It's just not true.
It's not because you make something a little bit better. It's because of the customers. It's some unmet need, and that gives you fuel to outperform. And the innovation, right? The point is that young companies are more dangerous than big companies. Young companies move quickly and break things effectively. And it doesn't even matter if they do because they're small, right? It's sort of like guerrilla business warfare. And we've discovered that guerrilla business is more effective than
Well,
classic.
look at Skype. Skype is shutting down. Microsoft is shutting it down and forcing everyone to Teams. So when you become a $2 trillion company like Google and you have Google Ventures, you just buy that startup, dissolve it, and incorporate that technology into your pre-existing platform. I mean, that's the whole monopoly busting, reason why I guess in America, we have this sentiment that we, have
Bigness
fair
is bad.
play. Yeah,
An old antitrust.
bigness is badness.
Bigness is badness.
I when I was much younger, I've always owned a lot of domain names, but when I was in high school, I registered this name called Gary Riegsecker because I read about him. He was the antitrust lawyer that took on Microsoft, and he made like hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. And so he sent me the most threatening letter I'd ever received in my life up until that point. And because I own GaryRiegsecker.com, and as a lawyer, you're like, you want to protect that. So he went bananas and said, if you don't release the name to me right now, I will basically squish you and kill you. I was like, okay, Jesus, you can have your name.
As well. That's true. But again, look, this is something that is coming up quite a bit right now, in like just with everything going on with AI. But what I'm talking about, it's more of it's an efficiency sort of problem, where what happens when something becomes so efficient, and I think it's called like Devon's paradox. Does the demand actually increase because something is so efficient, or does it become so efficient where the demand for it is almost, it becomes non-existent because of its efficiency?
I don't think that value is identified by justifying someone's continued existence. Right? Netflix does something like they fire themselves when they're no longer useful to the company, or they did well. Meaning, like, you got to realize that in the end, all of these business strategies, every story of every business, is some attempt, some story people are telling to convince people to give them money because they're helping them so much. And people make their cases. Amazon can prove that it's helping people. Facebook maybe can prove that it's helping people. Google can prove that it's helping. Apple can prove that it's helping people. The publicly traded companies are proving every day in dollar value that they are helping people.
Yeah, it's the data analytics. It's the back end. I used to sell digital advertising to car dealerships, and I would just say to them, "How much are you spending on your local newspaper every month?" I was like, "Well, show me the back end analytics of that." I'm like, "I can already show you what your cost per new user acquisition is. It's right here on the dashboard. If we just up it by 50%, you can expect an additional $6 per customer." Like, you can just once you can prove somebody the math, or at least have the conversation. That hypnosis alone makes them lose confidence in the other executive who's selling that person that ad
Which
space.
Again, I want to be clear. They are making the case to prove that they are helping people. Like you said before, they could be lying. They could just invent numbers. They could be screwing people over and then only reporting the good stuff. There's things that they do. The whole point of the reporting regime is, like we were saying before, we love our records.
I also did real estate at one point, and this woman gave us a seminar, and she was like the top grossing real estate agent in Northwest Indiana. She was doing like close to $1 million a year in that. And all she did was dominate the local newspaper space. She didn't do any digital advertising, but she created a market basically in the local newspaper by dominating like one page. And she was essentially the listing broker for the whole fucking Northwest Indiana, because everybody was getting that newspaper to a certain extent. So if you can control the communication, you can control that marketplace or that industry.
I'm so pro-capitalism. Just like a good system. Really no objection.
Yeah, but and I know that at $40 trillion, it's not capitalism, it's fucking state capitalism. And even Google, if all these corporations were launched out of DARPA and In-Q-Tel, and they've gotten fucking hundreds of billions of dollars in government contracts, like this is not capitalism. This is crony capitalism, and everybody knows it. And it's really just how much can you get out of it until the spigot turns off. And now that the spigot is turning off, and Trump is essentially cutting all spending. I mean, even all purchase cards. Do you see the whole news article about the purchase cards in the U.S. government?
It first shuts off. This is America. He shuts off the spigot for some. He turns it on for others.
Right.
Oh. Right. That was the thing. Like Teddy Roosevelt was known as the trust buster. That he beat down all these trusts. And if you look at the trusts that he targeted, he left some of the trusts intact. He busted some, but left others alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he was replaced, that guy went after the other ones. You see, it is a bunch of sharks devouring each other, but they're doing it in performance of our improvement of life. They're just killing each other for our amusement. It's like the gladiator thing, except we get stuff out of it.
Well, when Carnegie died, you know what was left from his fortune? I mean, it went into like a national library building project. I think that's considered like one of the greatest nonprofit activities from an estate of all time. Considered, to be a very benevolent act of charity. Like the Romans, if you were a very powerful Roman senator or statesman, you would build public works in Rome, for the constituency, for the people, to reward them with, the massive profit. But where in America today, other than Donald Trump building a fucking ice skating rink in Manhattan, do you see any billionaires doing like huge civic endowments? I know they're out there, like Ken Griffin. He did the Field Museum here in Chicago, and I'm sure there's other huge donations. But where is this Bill Gates and Warren Buffett pledge to essentially spend their, $400 billion?
I understand that their pledge is to donate at least half of their net worth before or upon their death.
You said at least half?
Yeah, they at least half. Like that's the billionaire pledge that I think Gates got Buffett and
Fucking Warren could be days away. He's like 90 something now.
I guess. Do you know how much he just paid in taxes? Like he supported the American government so much.
How much was it?
It was like $24 billion personally. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I don't get about the people that are like, they need to pay their fair share, dude. The wealthier are the ones that literally support.
Well, he's famous for saying that his secretary pays a higher percentage of income tax than he does.
Yeah. I mean, she has different types of assets.
What did he do? Like, what was so different about it? Was he just obviously a very intelligent dude, but extremely disciplined?
No. I mean, he had good areas. I believe insurance and trailer parks. And he understood the field better than most. Like insurance. Not a lot of people really understand the ins and outs of insurance when it's good. And trailer parks is a specific type. So he had a bit of a niche. He worked on it slowly and patiently the same way for 50 years and became better than anyone that's ever looked at it.
He essentially was doing a podcast too with that Charlie Munger. Like every year they would have their, Berkshire Hathaway a corporate board meeting, and it's essentially a podcast. And all kinds of wealthy executives, a lot of financial advisors, entrepreneurs, self-help people, they all flocked to the Warren Buffett annual, meeting event because it was essentially it was like 3 hours of wisdom from supposedly the smartest people in the world. So they used that speaking engagement to further promote their brand and develop connections.
Also think about it cynically. A, yes, he is wise, he is capable. B, doesn't really matter if he's wise and capable if everyone in the world is listening to him because of his billions of dollars. So no matter what, you want to hear what he has to say.
But it wasn't just him. It was that guy Charlie Unger. Like if you've ever actually listened to their conversations, you realize that his partner carried half that load. Like his partner may have even been a little smarter than Warren, just like a little bit. But that partnership, I think is also what really created that success for them because, when you have a perfect partnership, it really is 1 + 1 = 3.
Business is a team sport. I don't agree with anyone that says they do it alone. They're lying.
It's more fun when you have a partner who's enjoying it and you're both crushing it. Like I've worked for successful people who are partners, and you're like, damn, these guys like it's a friendship. But it's fun. Like I said, do you have a paralegal or an assistant that does work for you like full time?
Not exactly. I mean, I work at a firm, so I have a team
Yeah.
and a lot of people that do my bidding as I send them emails. But not like
Yeah, one on one.
they're more like paralegals for the clients,
Mhm.
right? I mean, like they're the points of representative for different tasks that I need, mostly with client interaction, so that I can focus on the lawyers.
What are your most difficult, challenging tasks that you have to accomplish, monthly or biannually or something?
It's not difficult. None of it is difficult. It's just time intensive. It's work that needs to get done. A lot of people are complaining about a lot of different bits of money for different reasons, and I have to talk to all of them.
Mm. So what's the friction then? Like, why can't you? How do you develop a deeper flow state in your business?
Deeper flows. I don't know what you mean. To me, I like a job where there's always something to be done. In this case, because I have so many files and they are not very complicated legal issues, I constantly have something to do. That motivates me because I get a little dopamine hit every time I do something.
Hmm.
Sometimes I like joke and I'm like, I hate you, email, die, gone, away. It's all just play.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, if you
So,
were,
go ahead.
I was gonna ask if your employer was like, McZed, how do we expand the business? Tell us what we should do. Like, what would you tell you know, the owners of your business? Or I don't know if you're a partner, but if you, I mean,
I
just
think
yeah.
that's another area of law, but I mean, right now we're in a specific field. It's pretty good. We could branch out into other areas, but it would require different types of marketing. I don't like focusing on the business aspect. I like focusing on the law.
But what about software as a service for law firms? I see so many like AI legal bullshit.
I mean, I have a file manager, so that's pretty similar.
What about
Just
securities law? Meaning, like when an investor loses over $100,000, call this firm, call Johnson and Johnson. If you've lost over $100,000 in Intel, whenever a stock plummets, you always see these law firms advertising for investor losses, and they're going to make them. Yeah.
I used to draft those press releases.
Yeah, I mean that seems to me like a big business because
What's the like? Where's the damages if you just invest?
because like let's say it's arbitration. You go to it's against the broker dealers. So if you have an account with J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, etc., and you lost a substantial amount, you can go into arbitration with that broker dealer, and if you get half of it back or a quarter of it back, you're gonna have to kick up 60% to the lawyer, but at least you're gonna get 10% back, 20% back of whatever you lost.
You get a third.
Yeah,
60.
third. Okay. I'm just saying I've traded stocks for 20 years and I have seen those advertisements from these law firms in the Yahoo Finance news feed forever.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
just like, what a business.
They send out as soon as there's a dip of a sizable enough thing. Anyone that calls they wrangle together and then negotiate it, and it's mostly like just a shakedown.
Yeah, I had to right out of college. I was working at Smith Barney Citigroup, and we moved offices from the Sears Tower to this building on the South Street, and I had to move all the boxes with fucking hundreds of filing cabinets. So I was filling all these boxes, sending them off to what is that company called? Iron Mountain, and literally sent hundreds of boxes off. Didn't even really do an inventory. Just fucking just threw. Anyways, the point is, all that paperwork was lawsuits, arbitration. It wasn't research. It wasn't notes on the clients. It was all lawfare paperwork, and I was like, "Holy shit! This place operates off of."
What are you talking about?
I'm saying that at Smith Barney, all of the paperwork and all of the filing cabinets, it was all arbitration from investor losses. Like that's all it was. There was no like, there was no there was no client files. There was nothing. It was all just fucking lawsuits from clients that arbitrated with the broker dealer after fucking losing their asses in their portfolio.
Well, it is a lot of paperwork.
I mean, that's the kind of paperwork you need to keep around. But I'm just saying that it's not like these brokers are doing research.
You don't need that stuff. That's why they threw it in file cabinets.
Yeah, it just went to some fucking black hole. That Iron Mountain makes a lot of money because they have so much stuff in storage that so many of these corporations have just forgotten about and could give two fucks about, and they just keep paying the monthly storage fees on it. I wonder what that stock is doing, but I'm not buying and selling stocks anymore. Isn't
It's
it?
gonna be interesting with the whole with AI and the legal system. Like I'm assuming I'm not sure about the legal system, but I'm guessing like a lot of the like Lerner and Rowe, like these, it might be more local where I am, but like the accident, get hurt in an accident, etc. I'm assuming they just like outsource all of the labor, for lack of better terms, of all these claims that come in, and that might be like I don't know exactly what you do next step, but I'm guessing like it's something a firm like that is going to probably be much more hesitant to adopt something like AI, just because of like it's not. I don't think you guys are just trying to increase volume. Volume is all that matters. But with these other like, I don't like. Like I said, do you know any of these lawyers that are like on billboards? Like, do you personally know like anyone that? What kind of people are these guys? Are they like just total? Like what are they? It's a very odd thing to see.
Well, you get a lot of different types in the lawyer community. Some of those guys are like hucksters, just like trying to do sales. Other times they're good lawyers and like they're just following good marketing advice. Just like put your face out there because like lawyer ads all look a certain way. They want a name. They want to see you in a suit. They want an impression that you fight or defend really well.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have like genuine good lawyers that are just playing dress up. A lot of law is performative. It's a theater court.
It's I took this business when I did undergrad. I took this business law course, and the guy who taught the course made it big in like tobacco litigation in South Carolina. Or who was that guy recently? He was like a lawyer in Charleston who killed his wife and like killed his girlfriend or something. Like his orange hair.
With like the kid, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it his kid?
Yeah, very crazy story.
The lawyer was like baron of this land. Like he just controlled whatever the hell happened. He had like a plot of land they could like fly on and just like, and like his kid was like a spoiled brat and like murdered somebody on the property or something. It's a crazy story.
Yeah, it's just kind of well. I saw something. I was also at the gym. I saw this thing on Dateline where this very successful doctor on the East Coast in New York or whatever murdered his wife with cyanide because she wanted to divorce him. And it's just
Yeah.
amazing how you can be like a super successful person. You could have done 20,000 heart surgeries. Then, in a fit of rage and anger, you lose your shit and you decide to murder your spouse. It's like, was there like an ethical, moral thing you just didn't pick up like 20 years ago? Or was it like something new? I mean, very
I think
crazy.
I think there's a reason that they have all doctors swear the Hippocratic Oath, because I think to some degree it's a dehumanizing profession. Like the majesty and the marvel of the human is dissected literally into its component parts for the sake of health, and I think that to some degree it disassociates them from humans a little bit. I've heard things of that, of like doctors that like just don't care about people anymore.
Well, they say nurses have killed more people in human history than anybody else.
Yeah, well, that's because that's what they're doing,
I don't mean
right?
I mean intentionally murdering their patients because they're angry, they're depressed, they're obsessed.
Yeah,
And so they
yeah,
want to
yeah.
kill
Well,
the
I'm
fucking
very
patient, which is
confused. Yeah.
causing them a negative dopamine.
Yeah, do you know who is the biggest abuser of drugs by profession?
Pharmacists.
Doctors.
Nope. Anesthetic nurses.
Like anesthesiologists?
Wow, yeah, I believe
They're
that.
anesthetics. They know all of the good drugs, the really good stuff. They know all of that. They have access to it. They know the procedures for disposing of them and how to grab them rather than dispose of them. So yeah, it's like candy. Like they're holding it in their hand. It's like, hey, throw that away or have fun tonight.
I lived in Hermosa Beach and I'm like on the boardwalk. I meet this cute woman and I'm like, "Oh, what do you do?" She's like, "Well, I've had to take a break. I'm a nurse anesthesiologist. I had to take a break because I got charged with just, distributing narcotics and I had to go to jail. I had to do therapy and so now I'm just
Oh
like
my
picking
god.
my life back up to." I'm like, "You wait a minute. You were dealing your like medicine from work and stuff?" And she's like, "Yeah,
Sounds
I
like an
got caught."
involuntary break.
Yeah, she was a very nice person, like very nice woman, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, "Damn, like I can't believe you had to go through all this," but I get
Yeah,
it.
and it wouldn't be the pharmacists, it would be the pharmacy technicians. Again, look for the cheap hired hands working with the expensive desirable drugs.
Yeah, I mean, look at Michael Jackson. It's kind of interesting because if you use propofol, um, and you look at like psychedelic experiences and disassociated states, or ego death and shit like that. If you want a real ego death, I mean, you literally like do the anesthesiology, cocktail, and you're literally like dead. Like when you like I've had a tooth removed, and like when you're unconscious, like you really it's like being asleep. So I'm saying there's like you could possibly like play with those drugs and experiment with them to get into like a state of mind which is not asleep. It's like lucid dreaming or something.
This sounds like date rape.
What?
Um, I mean, I'm just thinking of like what areas are people just completely vulnerable? They wouldn't even necessarily know if something happened while they were out. What's that movie? Horrible Bosses. Remember? Jennifer Aniston. Anyways, what was I gonna? I was gonna say something. Oh, Robin Williams. I remember he made. I was too young for Michael Jackson. Well, that's kind of a paradox. What I meant was I was yeah, I wasn't like aware of like the whole situation and whatnot, but I remember Robin Williams doing a bit where he's like, the guy was taking propofol to go to sleep. That's like getting chemotherapy, so you don't have to get your hair cut. Oh god.
Right, what was that joke? What's the difference between McDonald's and Neverland Ranch?
What?
One's full of 27-year-olds, the other's full of 27-year-olds.
Yeah, that sounds like a Muslim one. But you guys know Sig on here. He PTR'd. I guess his family was like big in the music industry, but he PTO'd a photo of his mom, like that, on the 70s or 80s with Michael Jackson when they were still like, I guess it was during his last tour. And bro, I didn't even recognize him. Didn't even look like him. Forget that he was black, like black. And not, so I don't know what he was. He's a very.
Yeah, he looked really weird by the end.
And he just like talked weird. Everything about him was
Yeah.
creepy.
Hi. Got a problem with how he talks? He just expresses his music, man.
When he held up that baby and it had like the veil over its head and he was screaming while the baby was screaming, I was like, holy shit. Yeah, he took that baby and dangled it over a fucking balcony in like Italy or something.
He Rafiki'd it.
You're right, that's what he was doing.
I mean, maybe had he dropped them, he would have wrote another amazing song like Eric Clapton, Tears in Heaven. Amazing. It's actually a very sad story.
To the light.
Was he the fat wrestler guy that used to just basically...
What to do, they can never be done. The sun.
Yo, I saw the second one for like the first time, and Lion King was one of the few cartoons that I watched when I was a child. Very deprived. I loved that movie. The second one was horrible, dude. Horrible.
Second one, you mean?
The like where it's the kid growing up, and he's like basically a beta.
The made-for-Disney direct-to-video, right? They've had a few Lion Kings. They just had a prequel, I think, called Mufasa. They had the live-act CGI remake.
So I'm talking about
I do every
sequel,
week
like,
in
where
Montrose forever.
I'm saying the sequel is direct-to-video. That's not like an official sequel.
Really?
Yes. It's like the sequel to Aladdin.
I really didn't watch Disney movies at all.
Okay.
But hold on, I don't trust you here. You might be wrong, but you might be right. Let me see.
Direct-to-video.
That means it's not official though. Like
It means there was no distribution on it. It didn't play in theaters. But you can consider it as canon or not. It's,
was it at all have to do with the timing of when it came out in COVID, or it had nothing to do with that? It was just a total.
It came out during COVID.
Let's see.
It came out.
What? There's a Lion King 2 that came out in 1998.
That's what I'm telling you.
What?
And I think there was a third, or 2.5, maybe, was what they called it. Look it up. This is the.
What? And that. Oh my god. Ringo's Pride.
Yeah.
Did I watch a 20-year-old movie thinking it was a new one?
Yes, probably.
No, this was no.
Then there's also they also had a series off of like a leopard guy, I think. And they had like magic team powers, like it was a leopard and a lion, and like I think they had a bird helping. Cartoons.
Oh my god, I think I did watch the 1998 one. No, it can't be because it was too there was too much bullshit.
No,
There's no way.
it can't be. That's impossible.
No.
It's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
No!
It's a separate timeline.
When I saw they re-released the Star Wars movies, I went with my dad, and there's a scene where Emperor Palpatine says, "There is a disturbance in the Force," and Darth Vader says, "I know, I have felt him." And I started laughing. I was like, "It's so gay," and everybody in the theater started laughing.
That was funny.
Earlier
Earlier when we were talking about nuclear power and you're saying that we could blow up the whole planet, that reminded me, I think K-19 The Widowmaker, which I think was the remake with Harrison Ford, at the beginning, they have like this line, which by the way, hated that movie. Fell asleep, don't watch it. Forget it. At the beginning, they said at the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union had stockpiled enough nuclear armaments to blow up the entirety of planet Earth 2 times over. Then another one pops up. America could do it 10 times over. And I just thought that was the funniest, dumbest thing. Right? I was like, what? Why would you need more than 2? What's the 10 for?
Yeah, that's a good one. I wasn't talking about nuclear. You were.
No. Well, you brought it up first, and you were the one that said we could blow up everyone, right? You could kill everyone.
Right, but I wasn't referring to. I wasn't referring to like nuclear though.
Then I guess I'm just associated it.
I never got into Star Wars, and I love space and like. Is it the Star Wars, Star Trek? That shit was just too gay. I don't know what to say.
Hey, Ray.
It was too sci-fi.
Are you more that kind of guy?
No.
Because most would consider it like less sci-fi, more magical.
Yeah.
It leans on like knighthood, chivalry, warfare.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I just couldn't get in either of those. It was very, I still don't get why people are so obsessed with it.
I'm obsessed with
Star Wars, yeah, like the art.
Well, there's you should talk to Edmund. Like Star Wars is effective because it's tremendously good hypnosis. Like he put a lot of study into how to do that, and other people have like tried, and so it's not just like, oh, it's so easy, just read the same books. But like he's an artist, and he really captured some romantic, futuristic notion of chivalry, right? It's caught. Because that's sort of the fear of the modern. The fear of the modern was like set up by the romantics that came right after and said, you're throwing off all of our amazing heritage of like valor and courage because like you figured out economics or something, and like you're destroying humanity. That's like what the romantics argue. So the enlightened, the moderns, they are worried about that. Star Wars is a solution to that problem. The future will be chivalric when it is needed. Which is funny because they also put it in the ancient past. Cleverly constructed movie. I love watching.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I think it ties into what we.
In a bottle that was Star Wars. I see them try in like what was that? Jupiter Ascending, Dune. They're all trying, and Star Wars itself was like ripping off Dune. Dune was the book, and that like failed as a movie project. Star Wars stole its thunder.
Yeah, I watched Dune. I had never heard of Dune until like 6 months ago. I watched it. It was alright. But yeah, I mean, look, I think most people when they're watching a movie I don't think they're seeing it for like what it is that you're saying. And I think you're right in saying it's like this very well constructed thing. But this goes kind of into the idea of like, how much are people actually choosing to like strive for something, or are they just being like programmed in a way? And in this case, to like I don't think there's anything wrong with programming people.
It's not as simple as like programming them, right? The hypnosis is effective because it is actually communicating, right? He doesn't really control the art that he produces if he wants it to be commercially viable. He has to anticipate what people will want, and then they will want whatever they want. Like, he's only guessing when he produces his final piece. That's why it's an art. And what people find in it, that's more on them than on him. He doesn't really control that. The people do. Which, by the way, in the case of Star Wars, that's why he put in so many different layers. He had samurai in there, he had magic in there, he had religion in there, he had warfare, he had revolution, he had brigand, a heart of gold. Like he has that turn from Han Solo from a criminal into a moral man. You've got the princess, so you have arcane styles of governance and multiple planets. He was very wise in the elements that he included, and also like the fascist imperial leaders with like straight homages to Nazi Germany and like making it all white. That was also beautiful. Like he was smart. Like if you look at his other stuff, like THK, you can see he had big, bold design ideas. But THK is dog shit. Nobody likes it. It's a boring movie. It's not Star Wars. But if you watch it, you can see that he has an aesthetic choice, and the people enjoyed the way he did it in Star Wars. What was it, like TK-43? Was that the name? Or THX-43? I think something like that. He had a dystopian future story. But
That's interesting to hear you and Diego talk about movies. The way you guys like view movies, it goes way over my head when I'm watching these movies going for it.
yeah, I can tell that Diego has watched too many movies as I have. Although, to be fair, I can also see that he has bought probably significantly more than I have. Like, I definitely wasted my time watching too many movies. Pretty confident he has wasted more time watching more movies.
Yeah, but what I noticed with both of you guys is that, like, you both kind of, or maybe I'm just the one that's lacking, but, like, you both sort of really have a grasp on, and you obviously are a lawyer, with how important it is to, like, tell a story.
Yes.
I never actually went over my head. But it is interesting.
Yeah, I've always liked movies.
Who's the best producer? Are you like a Kubrick guy or what? What's the other ones?
Kubrick's the director.
Okay, yeah, director. Yeah, I don't know anything about this stuff, but who's the greatest of all time in your opinion?
I mean, different directors do different things. They all have their own voices. I don't like comparing them, but I do have some like favorites. There's a few that I like a lot, like Tarantino. I'm a huge fan of Tarantino. I also like the Coen brothers. I think everything they make is amazing. I also like Rian Johnson. He's fun. I like a lot of different directors. They have different sensibilities. They pull out different things in film. Right? Like also Spielberg.
The Johnsons.
Like Spielberg is an excellent director, but like the movies he makes are not in my top 10. Like they're not things that I love. I get what he's doing. He's excellent at it. Same thing with like James Cameron. James Cameron, he did make some of like up there. Like I can see his mastery when it's on full performance. But I also know that he's just an amazing director. He knows practically how to do more on set than literally everyone.
I remember he started like trying to make movies when he was like very, very young, cutting up and piecing together like old like World War II footage and whatnot to fill a narrative. It's pretty
Breaking up. 18.
Yeah, I'm grilling a
Oh,
steak.
did I already? You're going stick in the car?
18.
Wow. Oh, so this is going out already? Yes, yes. Oh, okay, I should update that.
So that Cohen thing that you mentioned earlier, is that like literally Cohen's, or is that just like a last name that they happen to have? I've never heard of this.
not everyone with a last name Cohen is a Cohen. Because,
right.
but I am a Cohen. Yes.
Kohen? Am I mispronouncing it?
Yeah, in Hebrew it's Kohen.
So what would happen if you did want to marry someone who wasn't in that sort of like your whole?
I wouldn't want that. Actually, there was a girl. To be fair, this was after I was already married, so I really was not interested at all. But there was a woman I met at work, still very close friends with her. I think she's like got a bit of an Italian background, but either way, she and I just like gel. It was insane. Like we were just like rat-a-tat, loving everything each of us was saying. It was a weird rapport that happened instantly. Like we only worked together for like a few months. We're still kind of close. We catch up every once in a while. She just had a kid. That's like an example. Like I found someone that would be a prospect, but I'm not interested.
They're not chosen.
No, I don't want to. Think of it this way. If I decide to marry a non-Jewish woman or someone that like I'm not allowed to under Jewish law, then I'm taking away the option from my kids. I'm not letting them decide if they want to be Kohanim. I'm just taking them out. I'm saying like, all right, you're just not going to be a priest. And I feel like that's disrespectful to my ancestors, right?
100%.
If they preserved it to the point where I am actually a Kohen, it's kind of rude to just like throw it up because I saw a girl I wanted, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
So I never, like I thought about it a bit when I was a kid, like what would I do? How do I like maybe throw the whole thing away? I was never antagonistic against it, but it just seemed like a reasonable restriction. Like, okay, I see plenty of Jewish girls rule. Doesn't seem that hard to find them.
Yeah. Is that like what percentage of Jews are Kohens? Like a very super small?
I don't know if they have numbers on that. Let's see. What percentage of Jews alive today are Kohen? According to current estimates, approximately 4% of Jews alive today are considered Kohanim. And then among the Levites, it's approximately 8%. So I am within a 4% of a 0.15% of the global population of Jews. I've never tested for the Y chromosomal Aryan DNA, but I probably have it.
That's pretty rare.
You know, it doesn't really matter. Everyone wants to get that temple started. You tell me when they get the temple, I will report.
Like, I've heard this name before.
Cohen? Yeah, it's popular. Did I do that one yet? I'll fix it. Oh, here it is.
Remember,
Breaking up again.
I was noticing like the explode. More I with like the Jewish word interpretation on certain things, and that's when I was like, no, I need to know. I didn't know that. Able to know intervention.
I'm not exactly understanding you. You went through the matrix and then it all kind of spat out altogether.
It doesn't matter. No, I was saying I didn't know that like a lot of the Jewish perspective kind of leans towards not really having the intervention in the same way that the Christians sort of see God intervening. Like intervening. Remember, this morning we were talking about like, well, when is something a miracle versus just the idea? Yeah.
I do think that the essence of the idea of a miracle is some kind of event that occurred in history, which a religion utilizes to make a point about reality. That's mostly what it is. And I should say a deviation from the norm of existence. When something deviant happens, religious organizations identify it if it's for good, or usually no matter what, they call it a miracle. And then like they will call it a blessing or a curse depending upon the effect it has. Right? Like plagues. Plagues are types of miracles.
Really?
Yeah, have you ever heard of the Exodus?
No.
Okay, well, the Jews left Egypt one time, and there were 10 plagues that besieged Egypt. Rather than fighting any army or political motivation, the forces of nature turned on Egypt.
And these 10 were like very much consecutively, like in a short span.
Yeah, well, they might have led one to the other. So first, the river turns to blood, which could have been just an algae outgrowth or a bunch of dead animals, but either way, there's a bunch of blood in there and no polluted water. The polluted water, unsurprisingly, results in a lot of the sea life leaving the water and plaguing the city, resulting in an infestation of frog. The frogs then died, resulting in lice growing on their corpses. The lice then lead to disease, and animals start to die. You see, one thing leads to another and another and another. And the way the Jews interpreted all of these natural disasters that were happening as Moses said they would as part of his negotiation techniques with Pharaoh, they said that Moses was using God as a bargain. He was telling Pharaoh, let us go or else, and each one of these disasters would happen right after he warned him. That's the story anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty wild, it's true.
I mean, they did get out of there.
It's,
They were in Egypt. They knew Egypt. They knew how to live in the desert long enough, and they left. I don't know why. The Egyptians don't lend any reason why their slaves suddenly left. All we have is the narrative of the descendants of those slaves who explain what they say happened. That's all we got.
how wild.
And if you think about it, like think about the slave narratives of America. Do you think that the masters want that narrative out? Do you think anyone wants like praise bestowed upon the slave population while slavery is still being practiced? The existence of Israel was like a threat to the existence of slavery.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a, sometimes when we just talk about like you make the comments about we
Oh, come on.
oh Edmund, if you're still there, I cloned your voice today.
That's racist. Cloning is interesting too. You're going to have people developing armies. Robots are more destructive though. Do more with less.
human that like doesn't have to go through the developmental phase. Like they don't have to wait like 30 years from.
No, that's just sci-fi nonsense people make up. Like, if we could do that, wouldn't we just, like, do that to kids if we wanted? Like,
I mean, well then, yeah, then cloning seems inherently like a way to source new used parts.
yes, that could. They have that movie, The Island, where clones are just, like, hanging out in what they believe is, like, a utopian society. Really, they're just being cared for so that their organs are ready for harvesting when their host subject needs it. One good bit about that was that they had like a big black guy there, and he was there for like 2 weeks, and then they said, "Oh, congratulations, you won the lottery, right?" Because they're gonna kill him and take his organs. And it was like, why would that happen? That he would be there for only 2 weeks? They said because he's a professional athlete, so he needs organs more ready.
That's
Isn't that hilarious? I like that because that's like thinking through the actual economics of the thing.
no, I don't know. Yeah, well, I was gonna say something racist, but yeah.
Yeah,
There's
be black. That part was racist. Really, the one guy you kill early on to show we mean business is a big black guy?
Well, I was leaning more along the lines of like, why would you even clone one? Just kidding. Just kidding. Oh god, that's terrible.
Yes.
But I'm kind of sure.
This is the why.
Have you seen the Bruce Willis movie? It's called Surrogates.
Yes, a long time ago.
Yeah, I saw that for the first time like a year and a half. That was an interesting sort of concept.
Yeah, every once in a while the sci-fis have like some nice commentary. Usually,
Yeah.
what's interesting is it's hard to get good commentary from sci-fi films. Because it's just like if it's trying to build up a whole new idea, it's just like not enough time to play with it. It's just not a good medium. That's why sci-fi was written in like novels. You can do short stories, I guess, but that'd be more like a short film. There's not like a good. It's hard to get good sci-fi movies.
Is there an element where they're like somewhat trying to maybe like be relevant or on the right path, like what things might be like in 100 years?
No, I just think it's the wrong medium. Like, look at Tarantino. Never did sci-fi. Never. He did like samurai movies. He included some magic in his movies more than sci-fi. And I think it's because it doesn't work for movies. Yeah, and he likes sci-fi. He's a big Trek nerd. He was thinking of doing Star Trek for like his last films. But I just think I don't think sci-fi really works in cinema.
Well, then why does magic work? Because they like, I know they're very different, but they're kind of like, in some sense, like sort of similar. Ooh, magic.
It's a fair question. Why does magic work better than sci-fi? I guess because sci-fi and magic are genres that are designed to exist behind the story. The story's not supposed to be about the technology or the magical power as much as what the characters are doing because there's magic or technology. So I'd say
That makes sense.
magic is easier for the mind to accept and roll with and understand the mechanisms of than sci-fi, which naturally draws in the mind to figure out how they're doing this, that, and the other. So I'd say that like the backdrop is like thematically cluttered for a sci-fi movie, and it's thematically clean for a magic movie. Although to be fair, magic does not work that much in movies. They don't use it too much. They use more like Deus Ex Machina. Like, that's their magic. Like, this just happens because the story demands it will, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's like an overemphasis. I'm not very well versed in movies, but like the magic movies I can think of is it's like broomsticks, like little wooden, like something that is so. I guess I imagine that's probably intentional. Like you're saying, it's more about the characters and how they use magic than the magic itself.
Yeah. I find magic to be narratively usually pretty weak. I feel like it's kind of like being a subjectivist. It's ill-defined until I want it defined. So it's like worse than a Deus Ex Machina. Like a Deus Ex Machina, I feel like, okay, there's some kind of a force that just makes a hurricane when we want it, you know? And sometimes it's useful and sometimes it's not in the story. But like, magic is like, oh, guess what, I got this power. Why didn't you use that the first time? It always breaks the story, right? Like in Harry Potter, right? What do they have? They have time travel. They have time travel in Harry Potter. Do they use this to destroy Voldemort? No. Do they use this to stop him coming back from the dead? Right? A violation of their sacred magic laws. He comes back from the dead. They could return to that exact moment and just like kick over the pot. Like the guy was there alone in a graveyard with 2 kids. It was easy to kill him. But instead, they don't.
Well, yeah, vice versa with Voldemort, right? Like, he somehow couldn't kill Harry Potter, and then, well, why not just go back and finish the job?
No, the reason they fixed that narratively within the story. The reason Voldemort couldn't kill Harry Potter was because he had an enchantment on it. His mother died protecting him, which was an ancient form of magic of self-sacrifice because we're all Christians. And as a result, Voldemort couldn't. No, seriously, because they're fucking Brits, and that's how they think. It's the same thing with C.S. Lewis. Right? Did you ever see, like, what happens to Aslan? Aslan sacrifices himself. He shows up to the witch, and she shaves his head and kills him on a rock. He rises the next day, because he says she didn't know that there's an older rule that if you die for a noble cause, you always come back. And I'm like, fuck you, Aslan.
No, you can see, I don't even know what that movie that is, but that is kind of funny, actually.
It's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
It's also probably a very sensitive thing, seeing how it sort of is our God does that thing. But
Okay, so C.S. Lewis, he was contemporaries with Tolkien, and Tolkien wanted to try to give fantasy voice to the indigenous ancestors of England, right? So he wanted orcs, he wanted elves, he wanted hobbits, and he wanted to associate them to different like versions he had of ancient peoples of England, right? And that was like his move. He like saw it that way. C.S. Lewis is more religious, and he felt that his narrative world, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, should inspire people to believe in Jesus, basically. So The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the fuzzy, valiant lion at the center of the story dies and resurrects to move the plot along.
I did not think. I've seen The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or whatever the fuck that's called. I had no idea that there's some sort of Christianity later.
Oh yeah, dude, he like shows up to like a giant stone pillar or something to the witch, and he like surrenders. She shaves him, kills him, he's dead, and then the next day rises up. Which, like, listen, to a Christian, I'm sure it's like, oh my god, I knew that was gonna happen. For me, I'm like, fuck you, he was dead. Like, if you don't want him dead, don't say he died. Say that, like, she trapped him or cut off his tail. I don't care. If he's dead, he's dead. You don't kill him just to unkill him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is there more to it than that? Like, like, being tied to the Christian thing? Because it's, you don't think,
Because he has this thing where Aslan returns, right? He exists in their hearts, and he's always the king that will return. Like, you just gotta look through that book.
Yeah, it's pretty vague to me. I don't remember. Oh.
But he mostly like builds up a fantasy world where people can act with like totemic representations of different Christian concepts he was playing with. That's why it's very popular amongst Christians.
So you guys don't control all of Hollywood, I guess. Just
No.
most of it.
I mean, it's more like there were a lot of Jews in vaudeville, and there was entrepreneurial interest and new technologies. Like, the history of cinema is entrepreneurial. Like, if you ever see that movie, what was it, Babylon, I think? They showed, like, what the early movie sets were like, and it's just like a bunch of yokels in the desert focusing on, like, some little set that they put together, right? They know how to build a set and put on a play. They're all vaudeville. And they just took pictures. Took pictures and recorded. That's it. It's just endless photos. Day in and day out until the sun sets. And they would party.
You think they could have like foreseen the level of like cultural impact that ultimately is
Yes.
not in their time? Yeah.
Everyone knew that the camera was amazing. The camera itself had already been worked on for a while. When they figured out motion picture technology and they saw the effect it had on people, they knew it was amazing. Like, no one had a doubt about that. That's why they like ran away from Edison to go steal his cameras.
You're basically talking like a 4-year-old when it comes to anything historically, but
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
People blame America for not being historically conscious. I think it's more a symptom of the
Well, no,
modern.
for me, it's just never interested. History's just never been. It's never interested me. But yeah, our schooling system does suck. But it has nothing to do with why.
No,
very little.
I'm saying there's not a schooling system. I think that the modern man, like the modern sensibility, discounts the value of history because we did so many resets, and we're in one era of a reset. We did like this modern world thing, right?
One might say that there is
And a lot of that
Sure.
is done us disavowing the mistakes and foolishness of the past because we're more scientific and enlightened now. So we discount history. But if you really get down to it, like, you should. There's no replacement for the understanding of history. No amount of knowledge of human genetics or psychology or innate concepts that will always be true will beat out the facts of what actually happened. And you can only know what happened. So it's upsetting that they don't value history. It's one of the most important fields to study.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Geo is kind of. I've become more aware of, like, all the history always repeats itself, but like I don't know what that, but it seems that like humans tend to like repeat it. There's a certain cycles that.
We live in a well-ordered universe, and one of the things in this well-ordered universe is a well-ordered, predictable human. We know roughly how they act.
Yeah, which is kind of wild because it's.
Yeah, we have
There's so many things that you see today that you probably couldn't help but like maybe conclude that it's some aspect or some element of this must be intentional. The fact that people are making uproars about problems or things that like have kind of basically already been solved, or is it like this is part of a cycle that is going to happen again and again and again. It's not something new. It's just look back to find the answer to see where things devolve to or evolve to.
Well, you got to be careful, right? Especially with the study of history. Study of history can give you tremendous egotism, belief that you understand exactly what's going on. And what's always important in any field of study is to maintain one's humility. Like, and Geo does. Geo is very. He has a very specific goal. He mostly wants America to fall, Asia to rise, or something.
He's a monarchist.
Yeah, he's a bit of a guy. But, like, that's what you can do with history. That's why it's such an important area. You can't argue with the facts. Like, if his facts are good, they are. And you can craft so many arguments with the facts of history at your disposal, to the point where people are very dangerous with a true knowledge of history. Putin is a far more effective leader than the American presidents that we've had because he is one guy that has been living through all of Russian history. His knowledge of Russian history from a Russian perspective is far superior to the knowledge of American history of any president we've had in that office. In how many terms, God? Probably since Nixon. Nixon was smart.
You know, it's just something that it's a 4-year thing. Does it? To me, it just seems like maybe the idea behind it it's just to create basically no ability to get anything done because in theory that would be like not so bad actually.
The American system is designed to get nothing done unless the people's voice is clear. All of that, like interference and bureaucracy, and you can't do this, that guy's approval, and that guy was voted for from this district, all of that is meant to tie a cohesive national interest. A New Yorker shouldn't necessarily care what a New Mexican thinks about his policies, but America forces us to.
Yeah.
And as a result, it aligns our interests over time. We become more national, less statist. Because New York is stronger when they are concerned about New Mexico. When New York is only concerned about itself, it's weakened. The Federation is stronger.
Yeah, but I mean, how does that work? Like, how does that work in a situation where you have certain areas that are they're completely opposed to each other, but like they've also been ran by the left in that respected area and by the right in that respected area, so they just inherently don't agree. How does that like round people to be more national?
At their core reptilian brains, they all agree. They want power, and they want people to let them do what they know is best. They disagree as to what is best. And the only reason they disagree is because the American bureaucracy has skillfully divided them into two different camps.
Okay, but what I'm saying.
They're just frontmen.
But in the states, regions, they're not. But the two camps aren't really an issue for the most part. Like they're
State.
like New York or California, right? It's like they're gonna be red and blue respectively, or like any state that had it. I mean, for the most part. But what do they call it? The swing states, the ones that are.
New York is blue.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, how much infighting is really gonna like? They're not being threatened by the other party in any way whatsoever in New York, other than at like a national level, right? Like, which is all kind of bullshit.
No. The Republican Party in New York has ways of undermining the Dems. It's just the Dems control cities. That's where they're most concentrated. And New York City is the most powerful city the world has ever seen. Just like a fact. You know?
Yeah.
When the Brits invaded America and occupied it, they occupied New York City.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Like what year? Talking like the 1700s?
Yeah.
Okay. So how city-like was it actually, though? Like a very little.
It was not what it is today. Not as close.
Well, no, obviously.
Islands. They had like. They had industry. They had different cottages. There's some old maps of what the early settlements looked like. Very good maps. Got like streets and names.
Right, let's remind myself. People were here before 1776.
Yeah. 1776 was when we had enough of the king.
Yeah. No, I'm one of those super Americans like that. I just very ignorant of history. I'm like, I just associate everything around that time. There was nothing before
the
then.
Americans of being ignorant of history and like not being familiar with geography and the world outside, but if you ask the people around the world, they don't know history at all. They know it less.
Well,
free speech, internet space of America, Americans educate themselves a lot. I wouldn't say that they have like a great understanding of history. They make a ton of mistakes, but like the people abroad, they know their history. They know jack about anyone else's history, and the truth is they don't always know their own history. I've talked to them about it, and they're just like, "What? This happened? When? How?"
Why are you so certain that you have the correct version of their history? The internet?
Yeah, internet. I know how to trust information that comes to me. Well, one of the things to learn, you have to know between first-hand knowledge and second-hand knowledge, and when to trust second-hand knowledge and when to doubt second-hand knowledge. If you have like accounts of different people from way back when, and it's broad, big, mass movements, it's not so easy to lie. You can't lie about what happened to masses of people because someone would say this didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
And that's how history starts getting developed. It's like the kings that have always wanted to just rewrite history to whatever they wanted. Except in Islam, they're not really effective. But they can't because people know what happened. The stories continue. They say, oh, this is how it went down. King can publish whatever propaganda he wants, but people will just grow the truth around it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting how you go back 2,000 years though, how so much is kind of up in the air, but also understood. Like you guys you're not even certain if Christ was a real person. That's why ultimately that was a troll. But I guess some people do hold that position. So
I think they're making that to like undercut any acceptance of Christianity. To me,
that in itself is like a rewriting of history, or not. Maybe I wouldn't say rewriting, but a lie from your perspective.
Yeah, I think I don't see a lot of evidence to discredit the existence of a man named Jesus. I see plenty to discredit his divinity. That's child's play. But to discredit the existence of a kid named Jesus, that's kind of crazy.
Well, I find it more like if it was a sort of nothing burger, like I find it more interesting how was this legend able to grow so effectively, so quickly?
Well, listen, within the history of the Catholic Church, it depicts how it grew, and it very clearly grew after he was dead. So it like whatever might have existed while he was around, that's not Christianity. That was something that kid was up to. Maybe effective, maybe not, maybe overblown, maybe not. What Christianity is the story that Paul was publicizing. Right? He worked with the early churches, but like he was the Herzl of Christianity. He wrote like crazy till he died. It took him 10 years and he birthed Christianity. And I'm saying none of those people that joined were like, oh, hey, Jesus, nice to meet you. None of them knew that. They knew Paul. They knew Paul's writing. They knew Paul's certainty, Paul's zealotry. They loved Paul. Something about Paul caught the world's view. You got to realize what story is being popularized, who the author is. It's nice that Jesus is the main character of the book, but he didn't write it. He had no editorial say. None.
Yeah, that's like the thing I found most difficult with the Christianity. It's just that it's like there's two. I mean, I guess if I were to start at the beginning, then maybe it would all make sense to read the whole book. But there's so many different stories and accounts that for me, it's very difficult to. Like, I don't even know why these people are relevant. And when I found out, what was it like? I don't know if it was Paul or one of the bigger authors, for lack of a better term. They didn't start writing about him until like 9 years or some shit after, like a very long time after his death.
Yes, he had the books. The only way to is with writings. You need someone that actually publishes.
Yeah. So what's your take on like the parting of the sea, all that craziness, Moshe Rabbeinu stuff like that? Is all of that just kind of a tale from a Jewish perspective, or?
I mean, it is a story. but we also got out of Egypt somehow. I don't have any better explanation for it than the story we've been saying since the beginning. It's also, honestly, if you dissect the claim, it's not that miraculous
Which claim?
that the Jews negotiated their
What group of people? Obviously, it's totally different, but I don't know. I mean, I know you guys wouldn't want to just call that luck, obviously, but it's hard to kind of rationalize. Like, God, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know. It's very weird. It's a very, like when I was 12 years old and I played Little League, I could hit the ball a mile, you know? Everyone, I wonder how much of these biblical stories are, like, somewhat, like, overemphasized. Like Ezekiel, it's way off topic, but the book of Ezekiel.
Yeah, Ezekiel has, like, metaphysics in it.
Bro, Ezekiel, I can look it up. That dude was either on psychedelics or he was fucking seeing aliens, basically. Not
Or in poetic fashion that doesn't ring as close to reality as other literature does to you.
Wait, say that again?
I'm saying it's a book. It's literature. It's written from a style. It's written in a different style from the 5 books of Moses. It's different style from Tehillim, from Mishlei,
You're giving me like too much credit. I only know like a couple of verses of Ezekiel where he's talking about the wheels with the wheels and like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm saying that's prophetic writing. He's trying to provoke political action or moral improvement within society through his words. It's like a weird art form they had back in the day.
that nigga was tripping.
Let me put it this way. It's tricky to understand exactly how the Israelites would have interpreted Ezekiel in the time of its publishing, because it's hard to see what those Israelis were like. It's easier to get a sense of the slaves leaving Egypt, to understand what they're looking for, what their motivations are. The Jews in the state of Israel were divided over political issues. And it's just Ezekiel trying to speak to their specific theological sensibilities of a particular era that he's alive in. It's not going to ring sensible to most of us, which is why when the Jews interpret Ezekiel and Isaiah and Amos and many of the other prophets, when it's a prophetic writing, they're pretty close to look at what the rabbis say, because we have an oral tradition explaining exactly what the fucking wheels and bronze angels are. scholarship to identify what the original meaning was. The real point of the commentaries isn't to like give their spin or answer questions. It's to try to preserve the understanding as it was explained to them by their teachers and so on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know either religion well enough to be able to. It's a very odd play if he was intentionally trying to be artistic and using.
Oh, he was.
Why are you discounting the fact that he could have
Prophecy is
been like on a psychedelic trip?
Listen, prophecy, when it produces a writing, is a production. It's a writing. It's a work. It's an art at the end. And that's a communication with people. If you don't know how those people speak, you don't know what he's trying to communicate. There's books that I could pick up that are unintelligible to anyone because they're not communicating. In the case, like Chaucer, if you want to understand Chaucer, you can't focus on your understanding of English. You can't focus on dictionaries. You have to focus on the rough understanding of English in Chaucer's time because that's who he's writing for. You need to know their conventions even when Chaucer's breaking them. Right, like in the Torah, right? You have to know the Jewish grammar to understand the weird contradictory game they're playing with the word Elohim. They jump back and forth. They treat it like a single, and it's obviously a plural, and that's conveying some points that the rabbis have remembered. But you can't just read it. No text works that you can just read it. Doesn't work.
No. I mean, I'm going to read this very short. As I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the ground beside each creature with its four faces. This was the appearance and structure of the wheels. They sparkled like topaz, and all four looked alike. Each appeared to be made like a wheel intersecting a wheel. As they moved, they would go direction as the creatures faced. The wheels did not change direction as the creatures went. The rims were high and awesome, and all four rims were full of eyes all around. I mean, that's I don't know. I don't know what to make of that.
Would you like to research what the commentators say about these verses?
Sure.
Okay, what verse?
The one that I just read looks like it's Ezekiel 1:15 through 18. It's the one I read.
1:15 is good?
It's 1:15 through 18.
Alright, well, you're already in the middle of a thing. You're in the middle of a prophecy. 15 is 15 verses into the beginning. What is it actually on the floor? It comes for each living being. We like four faces. Our rabbi said this is a sandal phone. Extends on the ground, yet his head reaches up among living beings. From the context, we learn that the wheels were full. Okay, so it references Chagiga. Sounds like it's saying there's some special angelic force that he's saying applies to the world through the use of four faces and wheels and gleaming eyes and structures. Let's see, like the appearance of cuts. As for the appearance and structure of the wheels, they gleamed like beryl. Alright, so they had a crystal. It was a crystal wheel. All four had the same form. The appearance and structure of each was of two wheels cutting through each other. A wheel set within a wheel, crosswise. Since they go to every side with their faces to the four directions, the wheel must roll in its four directions. So they're running counter each other and contrary orbits, kind of. As they moved, each would move in the direction of any of its four quarters. They did not veer when they moved toward the four sides. They moved to the word wheels. He had to repeat down.
Is that a gyroscope? Is this similar to a gyroscope?
It's a bit like a gyroscope, yeah. And they had backs. And they were very hot, dreadful. They were frightful to look upon. Others interpret they had fear, meaning they stood on, and their eyebrows. And to see in all four directions, they did not turn when they went. Okay, right. Okay, so they weren't turning because they were looking at all places at all times. That's what the four is supposed to reference, at least. Off the ground. So they were hovering. The wheels moved at their sides, and when the creature were born above the earth, the wheels were born too. And when they lift themselves up from the depths of the height. Okay, so I guess gyroscopes fly around with them. The will. Whenever the spirit impelled them to go, they went. Wherever the spirit impelled them, the wheels were borne alongside them, for the spirit of the creatures was in the wheels. Okay, so they drove around on the air. There we go. Okay, so it sounds like he's describing an angel. He's teaching people about a type of an angel. You understand what they understood angels to be?
You're saying that he's describing, like, not like metaphorically, that he's describing like an account that he was witnessing, or
He is describing metaphorically based on their understanding of what angels are. Angels, from their conception, are officers of God that control the flow of the universe. So he's saying there's some kind of a force. I'm going to teach you about it. This is some of the visual characteristics you should think about when understanding this angel that I'm explaining to you. That's what he's doing. I don't yet know why, because he's going through a long description of what the angel looks like, but he hasn't yet said what the angel did, or what the angel told him to see or do. So he's getting started. It's a book.
is it common to have like phrase this wrong, but describe the spirits or whatever? They refer to them as moving with something that is being described as if it was engineered, like a craft or something. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's very.
Well, first of all, like, don't forget that in the Torah they have literal schematics for a giant rectangular tent of worship, and they waste a lot of time telling us all of the details, and they do it twice. They tell us to do it, and then they tell us that we did it exactly the way they told us to do it. Right? The Torah likes schematics sometimes, and they don't usually apply it to heavenly forces. But Ezekiel was somewhat different. He was a prophet. He was able to do it. But we don't usually like describe that. Like sapphire. We do sometimes say that the heavens have an appearance like sapphire. That's common. We sometimes say semblance of human form. But I'm saying all of these are concepts they're conveying to people that have a theology about angels. They have an angelology.
Yeah, I mean, that could be true.
It is true. I'm just saying. No, that one you can just know historically, because in the era Ezekiel was, they did have angelology at that point.
Oh yeah, I'm not disputing that. I'm still like uncertain as to, like, is this a metaphorical thing, or was this something that he was describing?
I'd say you're reading it the wrong way. It's like if you were to start Harry Potter and were to say, is this a metaphor for something? You could ask that at any point in the book, but the proper way to accept and understand the story of Harry Potter is to take the story at its terms until the end, and then see what you've learned from the story. Over here, he's telling a story about an angel, probably to give some kind of a message about the nature of the world or what the Jews should be doing. Now, you're asking, why is he describing the angel so much? I say, why tell us about the scar on his head? That's for the author. There's probably a narrative element that is useful for each of these components, and he probably touches upon them later.
So, from your perspective, you're basically convinced that this was not like an event that he was describing, sequentially,
No,
that it would.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that this didn't happen to him.
Well, that's what I'm questioning. Like, I'm not doubting that there could be a metaphorical teaching that pre-existed this potential, whether this was an experience that he witnessed, because, it both could be true, right? This could be a way that.
I don't know exactly what the standard of publishing and writing for the prophetic school was. It seems to me that these things happen to these people. They claim them usually as some kind of a vision. In this case, I have no reason to doubt him. He's seen, the rabbis say that this was a prophetic writing, that he did genuinely experience these things. But whatever it is he truly experienced, I wouldn't say that that's identical to what is written. What's written is designed to communicate. What he actually experienced is not really what the book is about.
Well, what's the prophecy he's making in this, anyways? I literally know nothing about it.
Ezekiel was, I think, Isaiah was the first one to say the state was going to be destroyed, and I think Ezekiel agreed with him. I think, what was it, Jeremiah got kicked out? I'd have to check the historic details on Ezekiel. But he was one of the last prophets as the state was being destroyed.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Where's Ezekiel in Wikipedia? Let's see. Chronology. 13th year of Jeconiah, king of Judah. So he was in Judah, I guess. Which means he was in the southern kingdom. According to the Bible, Ezekiel and his wife lived during the Babylonian captivity. So they lived when the northern state fell. And they lived in Tel Aviv, I guess. Tel Aviv, near Nippur. So they're exiles from the kingdom of Judah. We do Ezekiel 1:1 and 3:15. There's no mention of him having children. Okay. Right.
Normal was there. Well, Normal, I really, it was a very pleasant conversation between you and Rabbi Mick Dickerson the other day. I enjoyed that.
Very interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a unique guy. I know you guys don't see that side very often, but
Well,
I know.
he's been described as quite autistic, so it's hard to figure out because he's not wired in a conventional manner. But he's certainly deep, and I have a lot of experience with dealing with other people's mental illness, so I think I
Right.
kind of found my way to connect with him. And he was me. And he was me.
yeah, that's right.
That's right. He basically said, I had to decode the way they were using words. I think the Christians, Greek Orthodox, and I think the other guy was Catholic, their issue, of course, with Judaism, I say of course for Mixed, is what they call legalism. They feel, obviously and now I'm starting to get it, they're sort of intimidated and overwhelmed with the details of our laws. They understand why they do them. They are potentially an indictment of them. So therefore they object to turning the Torah into actual actionable laws and say that if you become obsessed with law, then you miss the spirit. That I say, when you were there, Agent, right? What do you think of that recap? Or did I stop? Did you stop listening?
No, I was there. I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll mute.
No, I'm sorry. I was about to just say anything. I wanted to hear what you said.
That was, I'll just say this, it has nothing to do with the question you asked me. That was the longest I've ever seen anyone get Randy to remain out of troll mode. I've never seen anyone, he was having like a very serious conversation with you for like an hour. I've never seen anyone be able to do that for that long with him. That was a genuine version.
Well, I started asking him, are you kidding about this? Are you kidding about that? And there is a method to his elaborate character that he's playing. It's something that, and he does seem to love the Torah.
Yeah, dude, I'm very,
He doesn't do it. He doesn't use it the same way we do, which of course is kind of the difference between Christianity and Judaism.
Yeah. I probably know Randy better than almost anyone on this tab. I'm very close with Randy. He trolls you guys all the time, but yeah. Yeah, he's a smart guy. I'm not really interested in the religious stuff as much as, well, I really at all, to be honest, for the most part. But yeah, he trolls. He loves to, not just the Jews, conservatives, but if you want to have an actual, he wants to have these discussions about God, but he's also an arrogant he is an arrogant fuck. I don't lie, but
Depending on, so he was after our conversation yesterday where he connected with us, I almost feel like he connected with me and hence the Jews, which was a little overstating my case, but instead today he completely turned against the Jew hater room, Amir's room. Part of my connection to Randy is through Isa, who likes him, so therefore I thought, well, maybe I could like him if she likes him. and she thinks he's bright, and I know to her that means he's autistic. So I factor all that in. Yeah, and you know, detail oriented. I factored all that in. But there's also a schism over there between the Pakistanis and the sympathizers with the Palestinians. The Pakistani jihadists are very aggressive, it's been described officially. And all the other sympathizers, whether they're like Armenians or New York Muslim prison converts, we both know one, or I'm trying to think who else is in there. Oh, like say British living Desis, Pakistanis. There was a big fight yesterday between them and the actual Palestinians, with one of them basically, I mean, one of them we know throws the N-word around profusely, and like as if he has Tourette's when he gets cut off. And
You'd have to be more specific, but that sounds like all of my friends.
Yeah.
no, well, it's what's his name, Cynic.
Oh, the cynic. Okay.
Yeah, he started melting down and screaming the N-word over and over again, like rapid fire, you know, like 100 times in a couple minutes. It's somebody who's black.
But he's a Santa, so he's allowed to say it.
Well, they don't think so. They dug that a little bit. I mean, he checks the white box, you know, in the U.S. sentence. I mean, Arabs are white as much as Jews are white, you know. So, but what was the thing? So there's a schism between actual Palestinians now and their sympathizers, which one could easily understand, right? And as soon as you see it, you realize, well, that makes a lot of sense. These groups always have schisms, huh?
What schism?
Between actual Palestinians and their sympathizers, particularly with Pakistanis, like they're saying, like, what is your link to this? Although the Pakistanis are very aggressive and jihadists. And then to a lesser extent, say the Gulf Arabs, by whom they feel betrayed, or for that matter, the jihadist Iranians, by whom they feel deeply betrayed. Schisms, I tell you. Or if you prefer schisms.
I want the schism.
The shizlit.
Schlitz.
Right now in Israel.
Oh, Rabbi Dickerson. Look who it is.
Did we really? We just conjured you in.
Summoned him. Yeah.
Can I tell you what I think we thought about yesterday, and I could almost lock it into my brain as having happened?
Probably not.
With you? No, I'm talking to Randy.
I just walked in the room. I don't know what you're saying, brother.
Oh, you mean the other Randy? Hi, other Randy. No, I had a talk with Randy McDickerson yesterday.
No, the real rabbi is here, Randy McDickerson. He's not. I don't know about him.
Oh, Randy McDickerson. If you feel like talking in a very friendly way, in a very easy, friendly, intellectual, but not competitive way, or not antagonistic. About just recapping yesterday to see if I got it right. My interpretation. His hand is up. So we have to, you know, I'm up.
Said you were a cuck. A cuck.
Sure, I don't know.
How you guys doing?
Okay, how you doing, Randy?
I'm doing amazing.
Another quick.
That's good.
Day 4 of Ramadan, you know how it goes.
I love Ramadan.
You can finally get all of his favorite tables.
Ramadan, we call it the Shahr al-Fadil. It's the favorite month of Allah. How you guys doing?
And I like hearing about months. I wonder, do you know if their calendar coincides with ours?
Yeah, of course.
You do know?
I don't think it's complete.
So it's the, hang on here.
That is lunar.
The word month comes from. We all track the moons.
What they call it.
We do it to say. So for us, it's the 5th of Adar. Wait, is it the 5th of, is it the 5th for you?
It's the Adar, but Khamsa Adar, March is Adar in Arabic. I don't go by the Islamic calendar. I'm not a Muslim.
Well, maybe, okay, so you go by the Gregorian.
You're saying it's 5th of Adar?
For the Jew, yeah.
Oh, that's kind of mindfuck because for the solar is 5th of March and March is Adar.
I know, that's so weird. But sometimes they line up.
But that's not supposed to be the case. So the last 5th
No,
of
no,
Adar.
it does. The is the months the moon cycle doesn't track to the solar. It just does reliable 28 day cycles that we can chart a solid month with. The Jews, in order to make sure that it doesn't get off kilter from the solar, sometimes we will add an extra month into our year. Still a moon cycle, 28 days.
What I'm saying is the 5th of Adar last time was not on the 5th of March. It's just
Yeah.
like,
It was
Well, it's not going to happen. It's very rare.
exactly. So this doesn't say that today is the 5th of Adar to you, but it's also the 5th of Adar to us according to the solar.
Do you know much of the Purim holiday? Is there any like Christian thought about the Purim holiday?
Purim, you're talking about Haman.
Yeah.
Esther and Haman. I think Esther is the hero. She's the
Well, I think Mordechai is the hero, not Esther, but I agree.
Okay, but like, did they do anything? Because that was like it was pre-Christian, but it's a bit more of a rabbinic kind of a holiday. I was just wondering what the Christian thought on Purim is.
Well, we know the story, obviously, and we have it's not a holiday. I don't, that's right.
Do you like do a reading?
But it's on the 14th of Adar, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's coming up. That's what I said.
But guess what? Well, I know I'm not gonna dance. Doesn't matter. Now let's check.
That's another topic, by the way. Our holidays are almost always in the middle of the month, which is full moon.
It's a perfect Ramadan moon right now. It almost seems planned, right? It's a sliver.
Well, yeah, because
Beautiful simchar.
we're in the waxing phase.
So Avar is what you call this month that we call Adar?
Yeah, we don't have it. We don't have it as a no. We don't. But we
Do
don't
a
have the holiday.
Just like an excerpt. I feel like you should remember the day.
Wait, so Randy, you're in March? You're in regular March. So what's the coincidence just that it's
Yeah, it's
5th of Adar and 5th?
All I'm telling you is
Coincident March and Adar, the months lining up.
in Arabic, March is Adar. So today is the 5th of Adar, according to the solar calendar. Which in your calendar it's the 5th of Adar, so it's lucky that it just collides.
Also, there might be a bit of a
Adar differently than Adar?
Adar in Arabic.
Is your Adar different than
Adar is much
yours
more
different?
Adar. It's just solar. That's how we say March
well.
in Arabic.
The sun
By
is
coincidence, you use the same word for this month as we do, or not by coincidence,
okay, but
by
just
proximity.
it is already the 6th of Adar because our days start at nightfall, even though it won't be the 6th of March until midnight.
For Arabs, yeah, because that's like a different time zone, yes. But for me, I'm in East Coast, so it's 5th of
Oh,
March.
you're something. Nice. Well, it hasn't set there yet.
I'm East Coast, man. I'm just like you.
So then, yeah, it's 6th of Adar for us.
How the fuck is it 6? Oh, yeah, because you're Jew. Yeah, your day starts at 7.
Exactly.
And I told the previous night.
Yeah, no.
I was supposed to figure out midnight in like the year 200.
I mean, we go by that. So we go by that in terms of like prayers and things like that. But that's about it. Like our day doesn't begin when.
I like the calendar, and I also like understanding what the word month mean and how the moon works.
But you
Like,
be careful.
people-
You better be careful not to enter the realm of astrology.
Astronomy is fine though, but
Are you one of
don't track those things. They just like rely on the calendar, and because of the solar months, they're pretty well charted. They just have a sense of what June is like. They don't really think about the moon phases. But I like it. And I like the fact that months have no real connection to the sun. They're only a phenomenon of the moon. And I like the Jewish calendar as a hybrid that really acknowledges both. That the lunar exists, the lunar exists.
Okay, see that's where you're mixing things. The month does have something to do with the sun.
Not really.
Yes.
It's like when they came back from the Babylonian exile, and they started using names for months from Babylonian deities. How did they accept that?
They're not supposed. That's Chilul Hashem.
No, well, it's that, yeah.
They're just names of months.
It is Chilul Hashem.
But like Tammuz was a god, and
They,
Babylonian god.
I don't. They used to call them by numbers. They had first, second.
Tammuz. That's right. Tammuz is a god.
Right, I think.
We did say Tammuz in Arabic also. They're not Chilul.
I don't know. Like the Jewish convention in the Bible of like simply numbering the months is a bit of a misunderstanding of how language works. I don't think numbered months is effective in human
I
understanding.
go by numbers. I go by numbers.
But they do have meaning. Everything has all those.
I think people name things.
Yeah, because if you look about August, it's from Augustus, right? So it's not a god, but
Like
it's a
Numbers per days. We still hold by the numbers per days, but we were fine with the name, I guess.
no, we go by. So I say the way I speak, I say today is Khamsa Tlata, which means 5, 3. 3 refers to the month. You see what I mean?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I.
The ways the Jews did it, but after the Babylonian captivity, they did have names for the months.
That's right. I disagree with that. I think it should be the numbers.
Eh,
That's what.
I don't know. There's not a lot of like liturgy or Jewish practice that needs a very specific declaration for what to call this month, right? The important like legal action is when a witness comes and says, "I saw a sliver of a moon," and then the court says, "Yep, you're right. It's totally a new month because our calculations track out." Like, that's the legal act.
You know,
So
there were
them
ones on the
calling it a new month is what's important. What they call the new month, they could theoretically come up with a new name.
The truth is, God doesn't care. I mean, it depends on your relationship with that word. So if you say Tammuz because that's just the name, okay. But if you say Tammuz because of the deity, then that's okay. See what I mean? So I don't think God is the child who plays games like that.
Well, that's the old law that if they're not using it for idolatry, then it's fine.
Exactly. Exactly. But I personally prefer to go with numbers. Not only is it simpler, but because you know, I don't even know the name of the month in Arabic. Not all of them.
I think the names work, at least within English. Like, people wouldn't exactly know what you meant if you said like 7, 12, 22.
Yeah, but that's cultural. It's easy. Like, if I say today is the 5th of 3, like, that's not an issue. That's not an issue, but it's just like people will say, "Oh, you're retarded. Why do you say that?" But like, if it's a cultural thing, though. It can work.
So I mean, it seems like it was a cultural invasion then.
Yeah.
Because there were some people that were used to the names to communicate rather than going to numbers.
It's very like August, Augustus. Yeah. Okay. The motherfucker.
Oh yeah. All of the
It was
every name.
people do not worship the months. Like Black History
Yeah.
Month is a form of worship for the black people. I'm just letting you know.
Every naming convention, when it comes to like these big systemic things, they're usually rooted in God. Like, for example, time. Our sense of time is one of the trickiest things to find. Time is if I count.
Oh my God, here we go with this guy.
Yeah, so I have to find it as a measurement. But our notion of time, chronology, is named after Chronos, the Greek god. Yeah, here's what the
Repeat that. Repeat that to make sure I got you correctly.
chronology. The notion of chronology.
Yeah.
Study of time or the development of time.
Comes from God.
It's based off of the Greek god Kronos, who was the father of Zeus. He swallowed all of his children so that they could not defeat him. But Zeus escaped, killed his father Kronos, and freed his brothers and sisters.
That's right. By the way, you better watch out because you need to be accurate. Kronos isn't a god; he's a titan.
I don't remember if Kronos was a titan.
Yeah, he's a titan. He's not a god.
He was a titan, and he birthed the gods.
That's right. But this is all Khulul Hasham.
Rabbi, there's a post on Abdul Remember about the Hebrew calendar. It's pretty cool. It's post here.
Oh, I love the Hebrew calendar. It's a good calendar.
Yeah. It's in Hebrew, but it's in Hebrew. Like the rest of
It's very organic. It's very submissive to the technologies available at all times for humans to track the change of time. And it's legalistic. It's just a great calendar.
You know that we were almost on a solar. We were for a while on a solar calendar.
How do you mean? How?
When we were in Egypt.
Yeah. I mean, Egypt just had their own calendar.
Yeah, and that was a very accurate solar calendar. And I think that somewhere along the way, we went to a lunar. I don't know which conqueror switched us to the lunar calendar, but
That's Muhammad.
it was way before.
No. It says in the Bible that Moses gave them the new year at the Exodus. Like, they practiced it right before they left.
That's right.
And also, the idea of a month did exist in other places, just that Egypt was very sun-focused. day using the sun, but they didn't develop the months or the 360. That was all like Babylonian technology.
That's right. And the truth is, calendars are there for you to keep track of time. So as long as you know which day it is, it doesn't matter. You can use rotten bananas as a calendar.
Yeah, I don't say nothing. Like, I can say we all agree that it is right now. We all agree what yesterday was. But it's something else to look up at the sky and see that the shape of this moon was reliably known and understood by my ancestors 3,000 years ago. They knew that it would look exactly like this on this day, and that's the beginning of the month. You know?
Marian, for example, Sumerians knew how many planets there are in our solar system. So, like, that's pretty. They included Pluto, by the way, because you motherfuckers don't include it.
Pluto isn't a planet.
Well, according to the. Yes, the fuck it is a planet.
It's not a planet.
It's not
Yes,
anymore.
Yes, it is.
It's not anymore.
I know they don't consider it a planet anymore, but that's because it is a planet,
It's a dwarf planet.
which is a planet.
If you really want to get like woke about this, and I feel like you might, because that's kind of what you do.
This is one of my will.
You could say that the implication that a dwarf planet is not a planet,
Is dwarf
if properly translated, is to imply that humans,
Yes.
human beings suffering from dwarfism are not humans. Do you hear yourself? How dare you?
Exactly. But why do you think I go?
Yeah, they're not human by definition.
How am I?
So what you really want to say is dwarf planets are obviously a type of planet.
I do think it's a planet, but I'm still stuck. Why do you think? How come I am woke if I say nigger all the time?
I didn't say you're woke.
But you did say I always go woke.
No. I said there was a woke spin. You could, since you expressed interest in referring to Pluto as a full-on planet and not a dwarf planet, which it truly is.
Yeah,
And you are that has no particular allegiance to anything other than arguments that serve your ultimate end. If you want to make the case that Pluto is a planet, simply utilize the leftist woke ideology of not being dismissive of different peoples and explain that they can't dismiss Pluto as a dwarf planet without also dismissing dwarf humans as non-humans. Pluto is
What if they
again
concede?
a planet.
I was about to make that argument, so I get what you're saying, but my perspective is I studied it in school when I was a child. Right? When I was a child, that Pluto is a planet. Then they changed that to no longer be a planet.
I think it is.
I just don't understand the reason. I don't think it. I don't think. Why do I no longer have to consider it a planet? When you don't have a real reason to no longer make it a planet. It's just some retarded shit to put.
What makes you think that they don't have a real, reasonable distinction between the definition of a planet and a dwarf planet? Go ahead.
Because the definitions keep changing. Like, they can tell you today that it's a planet, tomorrow it's not, because the definition. Like, okay, remember recently when they changed the definition of a recession? And that's why we're no longer having a recession. Yeah, but we do have a recession. You changed the definition. Right? So I don't like the definition games. I like to stick to something and just go with it. Right? There's nothing I hate more than changing definitions every 2 days to cause confusion.
Okay, but have you considered that because you're arguing with the experts that are actually looking at the planets, that because of
Bozak, you remember it's the experts who got you jam.
Hey, please, let me finish my question. Okay. Don't you think that the people who identified it as a dwarf planet and not a planet, based on that criteria of dwarf planet, there may be other dwarf planets in our solar system that, because of your bespoke definition, you might now want to say is a full planet? Like, do you? Let me put it this way. Do you know? Because I do, and I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. Do you know if there are other dwarf planets in this universe?
No.
In this solar system, excuse me?
I'm not much. I personally don't. I'm not much into these things, but I can tell you the Sumerians included it as a planet.
And it seems like they were wrong.
I don't think they were.
They were.
I think
Listen.
I think the ancients were what.
Think about the scope of calculation they can do on looking at the movement of Pluto in relation to themselves. They didn't even have a heliocentric model yet, which they would need to do to track Pluto. At that level, they would have been using like epicycles at best. They didn't know. They didn't understand it. And I would tell you, Pluto's orbit of the sun follows the trajectory of a dwarf planet, not a planet.
Except you're a true mark, you know that?
Yeah, I just checked my license. It's true.
That's right. Vincent in the chat is asking a question. He's saying, are you sure it was Pluto they were drawing? Actually, I'm not sure. But what I do, I mean, we can check it together. But I do remember that they included all the planets. So it's not necessarily Pluto, but they were including all the planets in our solar system, which does include Pluto if you add them up. Unless I'm wrong. It does include the sweet ass, but it also includes planet X, right? Or whatever you call it. Yeah, the Sumerians knew what's up. They knew what's up. And I don't know how, but they knew what's up. Anyways, I trust them over the so-called experts who literally are the reason why you stayed in your mama's basement for 2 years because you're afraid of a 99% survival.
What?
I'm referring to
2 years?
yeah.
It literally wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
I think you're the only one on this station, Canada.
Well,
Like me personally, I'm super grateful for COVID because it is so easy to work from home.
It literally
And that,
was.
it very well been done for at least 10 years before.
If not more. If not more.
I'm
And it
grateful.
took the kick in the pants COVID to happen, and now it has, and I am liberated.
Did you know how much money people made out of this shit? This is crazy.
I don't know right now.
People making money every day.
No, but COVID specifically made people a lot of money because number one, you save on tax dollars because you no longer need to take care of the elderly. We've killed them.
Okay, that was like,
We didn't
I
kill all of them.
heard the guy. I read this article about the guy that made the fucking billions on COVID. I'll tell you how he did it. This guy is my hero. I'm so upset. I didn't understand market. I still don't as well enough to pull off this move. This is what he did. He anticipated that an outbreak would happen. He checked the data. He knew that there was likely, and he saw that coming. COVID, if you recall, when it started, it didn't immediately hit the U.S., but it was apparent. It was apparent to some that understood and studying epidemic that it was coming and that it would stop.
China
Let me
and Italy.
finish, dude. Shut up. I'm in the middle of the time. Okay, so they knew that it was coming, but the market had not rebounded yet. They were still like seeing it. It was the cruise ship news had come out, and someone had seen that the infection rate after quarantine had gone up. And every epidemiologist that sees, it's going up during quarantine, you're fucked. And they looked at the rate and they said, yeah, this is spreading. This is going to spread. It's going to be a worldwide thing. And this guy saw that. But how do you capitalize on it? If you know that a crazy disease is coming, what do? He bought. Here's what he bought. He bought options in face mask companies in Asia. He bought them up to whatever. Like, he bought options of, I think, like 20 for like 5 or something. It traded up to 60. And then there was like, they ran out. And he was invested in like the only company that could provide it. This guy, he like went to a secure location and like coasted out everything, but that was the move. He saw the one play. He knew it was coming. He had the funding, and he made it kill it. That was it. He doesn't need to make anything else the rest of his life.
Capitalism is money.
Well, no, it's not.
And this guy isn't you, correct? He's
No, I read about it in New York.
But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm telling you how the general public benefited.
Anti-Semite niggas,
They also benefited.
Jews. They need to.
They benefited in other ways. They printed so much money, so they pumped all your ass. Now your house is worth 3 times what it was. 3 times.
Also, that guy. Let me explain to you the capitalistic value of what that guy did. That guy was looking to make a lot of money.
make a living, and it's beautiful. Look at
There's
that.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. Why? Because those who don't own homes no longer own them. Those who own homes now are like they tripled their net worth.
I'll tell you what, in the modern age, people start pushing in home ownership.
Yeah, of course. Want you to own a home. You know, we fought thousands of years to have the right to own land. Of course, we're gonna take it away from you if we can. Shit. So now, if we can dumb down your population with public education, and we can convince you that you don't need to own land. That's gonna
Yeah,
be
why
so-
do you need own land?
You don't need to own anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you need own land?
Exactly. You asked that question because you've been signed by the public.
Okay, so on side eye, why do you need own land?
Because only lords own land. We fought war over it. And now each one of us is a
And
lord.
why do you need lordship?
You don't need what you need to eat anything other than bread.
Hunger.
Yeah, okay, but you can
You
eat
have
bread.
hunger and taste for lordship?
Loyalty to the king.
Like, you're not making a compelling case for lordship.
I'm not.
You said I was psyop. I asked you for one excuse why the excuse don't land.
I don't think you're saying if you believe that home ownership and land ownership isn't something we fought for thousands of years, I do think you're psyop.
Okay, prove it. What's an example of a war that was fought over land ownership?
Throughout history, even before the Magna Carta, like we again only Lord. You know, okay, let's go back in history. Okay, let's talk.
You're talking about the Angles that were all warring against each other on
Not
England?
just those. Well, that's Magna Carta is specific to those, but like in general in medieval Europe, the person cannot. Most people lived and died on their plot of land which wasn't theirs. That's the land of the Lord in which they worked. But
And that was like bad or something?
of course it's bad.
Why?
Because you have you have rules for thee but not for me, and you have different classes of people where you don't get to, thanks to capitalism, you get to climb up and down the ladder if you so deserve it. But under feudalism, if you're born in a certain class, your son will be in that class. You cannot move.
Okay, so
right?
let me slow down and unpack a bit. It sounds like you're saying in feudalism, it's very important to own land.
No. I'm saying in feudalism you couldn't own land.
Right. That's why it was so important, right? You either had it or you didn't. But in capitalism, you have not made a compelling argument.
No, you don't have the land. You don't
land.
Even in feudalism, the Lord doesn't have the land. The land is assigned. The king has the land, and the land is assigned to the Lord by the king, right? And the Lord is supposed to run that land and raise tax dollars or not
Okay,
dollars.
but we're not discussing feudalism. We're asking today a modern argument for the ownership
So
of land.
ever since capitalism, capitalism changed things where every man is able to move along the social ladder rather than be stuck where he is. So then lordship became an option, aka owning land.
Why? Okay, great. Is that a thing we should want? Lordship?
I think we should want a world where, based on meritocracy, you can climb up and down the social ladder.
There was a familiar objection amongst the early Americans against fighting against England. They that didn't want a revolution. They said, quite compellingly, I'd rather have one king 3,000 miles away than 3,000 kings 1 mile away.
Yeah, I would call these people faggots.
Okay. Is there some reason you think specifically society's improved by having 3,000 kings 1 mile away?
I think that they have benefits. Some people might benefit, not societies as a whole. I think people might benefit. It's just like, for example, people who are very unproductive would love a tax system. Obviously, they benefit from it. They're not taxpayers; they're tax recipients.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so I think people have their incentives for sure. En général, society is much better off with decentralization.
Okay, if society is better with decentralization, wouldn't that be an argument against land ownership, which
Well,
is
they're better with these nuts, which are decentralized.
So I'm just not clear. Are you saying decentralization is good or bad?
100% good. When under duress, you should decentralize.
Okay, so then I can decentralize my wealth outside of land, right?
That's not how it works.
It's stuck in
Decentralized.
the land, no? specific way, as lands want.
That's not the definition of what you're talking about is diversification. That's different than
No, I
decentralization.
wasn't talking about diversification. I was talking about the centralization of the concept of your money.
Yeah,
I was saying, what is land as a good wealth holder?
but we're not.
Is it better than gold? Is it better than dollars?
But that we're not talking about. That is diversification. What I'm talking about is decentralization, which refers strictly to the decision-making process.
Of what?
In general, like an absolutist.
Centralizing what? What do you mean?
Decentralizing the system such that, for example, the US is much more decentralized than the UK. Although the UK does have decentralization since the parliamentarians won. But if you, for example, compare the UK with the French, where they had an absolutist monarchist, you would find the English with their king are more decentralized. Obviously, they were the ones who prevailed. Americans prevailed because they had more decentralization. Decentralization is good, and it allows the individual to flourish and, self-actualization and whatnot.
I don't know what that has to do with the land.
Well, with the land is simply the fact that you can climb up and down the ladder. Hence, land becomes accessible to you. You're not a peasant by definition. Maybe you are maybe because you're a Jew, you're more comfortable with having different classes in society that are rigid. But to me, I believe that you should be able
Yeah,
to.
actually, I do mostly like different classes in society.
I know you want the goyim to be your slaves. I understand, but I mean,
No.
people should go up and down the ladder if they so deserve it. I don't think you're born. Your father is a blacksmith, therefore you're a blacksmith.
I think that usually works well, but I think that within the economics of life, people grow and up and down. I don't think that that's inherent within a class recognition. I think that, to me, the class notion is more about creating an aspirational piety for the people.
I think we're speaking past one another. What you're calling for is a noble class and a peasant class, where the nobleman is noble for he was born in a noble household. The peasant.
No. No, that's incorrect. That's not.
Okay, so what I'm saying is I want the peasant to also be able. I want the peasant to be able to enter nobility. That is how he owns land. Noblemen are those who own land. Okay. Now you have.
Okay. So here's part of the problem. It feels like you're blurring the notion of class climbing to wealth accumulation, which is sort of that's sort of like the essential reason why I. Okay.
Not about wealth.
You talked about raising stature based on accumulation of land.
No, it's based on capital. Capital becomes accessible. Capital was not a thing back then, but land was.
Okay, but how does that affect your class? You're still whatever class you are.
Well, exactly. With capitalism, it doesn't affect it because everyone can access capital. That's why it's called capitalism.
Yeah, but that's always been true. There's always been merchants.
That's not always been the case, no.
Why has there not always been merchants?
There's not always been. The merchants were a class.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's all you're doing is rebalancing the class. You're disregarding the value of the other class, which is doing something else, and you're focusing on the merchant
class. You
class.
don't get to move between these classes.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
That is true.
No, it is not.
That is true. If the Lord.
No, it isn't true.
And you will stay on the land.
It's just not true.
You are the subject of.
There are merchants that became lords, and lords that became merchants. Like it happens.
The merchants not become lords, unless you're talking about the later period where actually.
They do. How do you think the first lords became lords?
The merchants were the ones who came with the capitalist revolution. So towards
you ever heard of Baron de Rothschild? How do you think he got his barony?
There were cases with the Pope.
It happened a bunch, dude. Like, you're pretending that there's some kind of true divide between merchants and class, and it isn't. Here's the real divide. The real divide is...
I'm going to have to debate with you the fact that before capitalism, you couldn't move up and down the social ladder. I mean, we're going to have a lot.
That's not true. It's not as true as you're saying.
No,
there was more movement than just, nothing. We're not,
In fact, in East Europe,
East Europe would be different. East Europe is different.
No, it's not different.
England.
It is different. It's not totally different. The serf cannot own
No,
land.
listen. I'm feigning. I'm going to plead ignorance when it comes to Eastern Europe. I don't know what their class system was like.
It's similar, but more strict in the sense that the serf cannot even leave the plot of land. So he's born there, he lives there, he dies there. He cannot even.
Okay, so that's crazy. That's stupid.
No, that's not stupid. That's feudalism. The Lord does.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of feudalism. I said classism.
But feudalism is classicism, nigga.
No, they're not
Yes,
identical.
Yes, it is. Capitalism.
Feudalism is a very particular historical era that was functioning a certain way. I mean, and feudalism was not always bad. It worked in certain areas. That's why they did it for so long.
I'm talking strictly regarding ownership of land and how that plays a role when it comes
Yeah,
to.
but you are telling me that ownership of land is the essential component there, whereas you keep like bait and switch talking about
You don't
up and
understand
down
that
classes.
only
I
lords.
can do without land.
Because only lords were able to own land.
Yes, but
Now
why
you
do I
have
have
the
to
ability.
care?
Because now.
Why? Like,
Thank-
make your case. I have access to the whole damn planet. I can get to more corners of this planet freely and without harm than my ancestors for millennia. You're telling me I need to own the land. Fuck you, I have the planet.
Okay,
I'm just asking you, like, what is
Yeah,
your case?
Just read about it.
You're telling me that I'm, like, not a lord because I don't have the land.
Read
I don't get it.
I know you don't get it. You need to read about it. I'm not gonna explain.
I'm asking you to explain it. I feel like you were failing.
And it's so difficult to explain it to you. It's so difficult.
Yeah. Like, listen, here's my money. There's land right over there. Be a salesman for a second. Why?
Read about the history of land ownership and the right to own land.
So what? You're saying I have to make like some kind of civil act of political statement by ownership of land?
No, what I'm telling you is only lords were able to own land, and now we have the ability, each one of us, to become lords if we so deserve it. Thanks to capitalism, we
But
can move
again,
up and down.
who cares?
I care.
Like you're pushing against this classist system, going like, you couldn't move to the. And they're like, but now I can be a lord when the class system doesn't exist anymore. Like, what are you chasing?
I am not saying that. I don't believe in the
Like
abolition.
what kind? Real talk.
Do you
What kind
understand
of
that
happiness are you getting when you get this plot of land of
Yeah,
dirt?
but I'm a capitalist. Why do you think
And capitalists would love the money.
But no, that's not true. We love
A
capitalism.
farmer loves the land.
Dude, we're talking past one another, man. It's just not. I don't want to abolish the class system. I want to be able to move between classes. That's what capitalism does. I'm not saying I want to abolish classes.
I think you greatly misunderstand
I
the barriers of classes. And this will stop you from shifting from mercantile to classy. You won't be able to reach the aristocracy with your current approach.
That's
Because you don't understand what class is. You think
That's so retarded.
that you can buy it like a merchant, and you're wrong.
I never said that. That's so retarded and dumb. I never said that.
Okay, so then how's the land ownership going to help you?
About the 1700s.
If you don't have class, how will it assist you that you own the dirt?
Can you Google the mercantilists? Because these guys are long gone.
Yeah, I know what mercantile is.
Again, they're long gone, so I don't even know why you think I'm making their argument.
You were saying that you can transactionally enter a higher class.
I never said. When did I say that?
When you said I should own land.
But I never said that.
Yes, you did several times. It's the only like cogent thing you've been saying.
Okay,
But go ahead,
never
take it
said
back.
that.
What would you like to say now instead?
But I never said that. I'm responsible for what
Great. Say something else then, please.
But I didn't say that.
Okay, I agree with you. Go say something else.
Okay, you don't own land because you made a transaction.
Okay.
You are able to own land, hence you make that transaction. Huge difference.
Could you?
Huge difference. You're a lawyer. I want you to know the difference between these statements.
I don't. Please expand.
Okay, I don't know where you bought your law degree, nigga.
New York City.
I would like to buy one to which place?
Fordham University.
$5 million.
That's amazing. So you don't know the difference between owning
Yes,
land
you would like them.
action versus making a transaction because you decided to own land.
I don't see what argument you're giving.
Okay, I'll do it
I
once.
thought I mistakenly believed that you
I'll do it
were
once.
own land in order to be a lord. Now, I think correcting me. Why are you telling me to own land?
I would do it once again in under a minute, and I would love it if you don't interrupt me so that you may finally understand the words that I'm uttering, okay? In the beginning, lords, the king owns the land, and the king assigns the land to the lords, and you live in that land, and you are the subject of the king through the lord. Now, with capitalism, each man was able to become a lord if not only if he so desires, but if he deserves it. It's a meritocracy-based system that allows you to move up and down the social ladder, including but not limited to the ownership of land. Because if I can climb up the social status, the social ladder, I can also enter lordship, quote unquote. In other words, land becomes an availability. We fought several wars over more than 1,000 years to secure the right to own land. So when you just want to take it away, you're gonna have yourself a very hard time. It's not gonna happen. People are gonna kill. We're gonna kill each other over this. I am willing to carry a rifle and shoot some dumb motherfuckers. If that's the only way for me to own
There
land.
might be like a foundational misunderstanding in the question I'm asking you of why should I own land? I am not arguing to you that people should not be allowed to own land. I'm asking you to make a single case why any particular individual
Okay.
should, with his wealth, decide to own land
Okay, so
rather than not.
I can tell you.
And I feel like you're not answering that
Well, I
question.
can tell, but that wasn't really the question. But if that's the question, I can answer.
That's the question I was asking over and over again.
Sorry, so a better question would be, since the status quo is owning land, since we fought for it, why do you think we shouldn't own land? But granted, I'll take your question and I'll answer it as you gave it. Why should you own land? You should own land for a million reasons. You don't need to justify why you want land. You can use land for business. You can use land for agriculture and farming. You can use land as you can do whatever you want. Depends on your needs for that land, but you are able to do what you desire with your property. So we're talking about property rights, which I hope you understand property rights and their importance as a lawyer. I really hope that. I hope. But so these are some reasons. Other reasons included in the past where you could only vote if you own land, which I personally disagree with, but that is an argument that could be made at a certain point. There's a million other arguments. Like, for example, I would like to own a home. I don't want to be renting and be dependent on someone else's property, so on and so forth. If you don't own the land, someone else does. That's why the question, why shouldn't you own it?
Why should it? Because okay, slow down. You're right. I could decide to own land if I wanted to farm, if I wanted to develop some real estate, if I wanted, some hunting grounds. There's really reasons to do that. But I'm just saying, ab initio, like you have wealth, you could put it in the ones that contribute to your lifestyle choices. Yeah, I wouldn't say specifically land unless you wanted to do something with or on land. I would suggest, like, if a person had, let's say, $1 million, right? And they're sitting there, they've got whatever kind of a job they're holding down, they've got $1 million. I would say that million, from a simple capitalistic perspective, should be as much as possible invested into that person maintaining their lifestyle choices. So they should support their job, they should support food. They don't need to. So then it's a simple mathematical question as to whether or not they better support their goals through the ownership of land or not. And I would say 9 times out of 10,
who are you? Their goals.
because of centralization of costs and innovations of technologies and resources and organization, it is inarguably more effective to not own land and rather rent.
You're just going on and assuming a million things. Who are you to set their goals?
True,
You're looking at that. Yeah, you are assuming things. You are assuming their goal is to worry about their jobs. Okay, you look at people as workers.
Maybe.
Okay, so you think like a nigger. I choose not to do that. I think people are not workers. I think people are
right. But think about how you believe yourself to be thinking. You believe yourself to be thinking like a lord.
No, that's not what I'm doing.
Which I would say is the method, right?
But I'm not saying that. You're arguing with yourself. I'm telling you, what's ethical is that you think people should be like niggers. What I'm telling you is people should be able to move. The nigger become a master, the master can become a nigger. That's all it's about. Capitalism is about.
Didn't you tell me that, like, the way to move would be through the accumulation of wealth?
I don't know how many times I have to say it so that you can understand. Lawyers are not smart, are they?
Was that a rhetorical question?
It has nothing to do with wealth. It has everything to do with accessibility of capital. It's not about wealth.
Okay. So you're saying the development of a globalized world makes us all wealthy and lords?
What I'm telling you is that your argument has been refuted by Adam Smith in the 1700s.
What
That's why
argument was refuted by Adam Smith?
That it's not about wealth, it's about capital.
What's not about wealth but about capital?
The wealth is created through capital. What's important is capital. It's not gold. Well, it doesn't matter how much gold
I
you
think
have.
technically wealth comes before capital.
That's not true. That's
Yeah.
where you're wrong.
Because capital
No,
comes from assignment.
That's where you're wrong.
Capital is what you assign to your
How
wealth.
about you read the book called The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith?
I've
Which
read
will
it.
explain
All
to
right,
you why
both of you PTR your bank accounts. Let's see who's more.
that's not the case. It's all about the cash flow. It's not about the wealth. It's about the cash flow.
I didn't say it was about the wealth. I said wealth comes before capital because you have to have savings to assign as capital.
I'm telling you that's not
Savings
It's
would
gonna
be
be
wealth.
both. It's about that.
No, saving doesn't give you wealth. Saving, okay, how about you Google the Solo model? It's called the Solo growth model. Savings gives you investments, gives you capital, gives you
Bitcoin.
production and growth. And wealth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Savings,
So,
which would be wealth, is then assigned as capital from into investment.
No, no, that's not how it is. It's saving, gives you investment, gives you capital.
Okay,
gives you
slow down there. If I was saving something, right, and I invested it, I feel like there was a step in the middle that you missed.
No, there isn't.
Okay, because you said I was saving, keeping it all, and then suddenly I threw some of it away. Feels like in order to do that, I would have to assign the parts that I'm throwing away something like capital.
Can you Google the difference between wealth and saving?
Nope. Why?
Exactly.
What do you want to make the difference between wealth and savings?
Because you don't seem to be able to distinguish the two.
Yeah, I'm not making a big distinction between them. What do you think is the salient difference?
Exactly why you should look into the Solos growth model.
Well,
Which is
please
very-
enlighten me. What are you saying is the salient difference between wealth and savings?
Wealth is your wealth in general. Wealth is negative debt.
That was the terminology.
If you have,
Negative debt?
yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, that is negative wealth by definition. So wealth is what's
So
your
you've told me what it isn't. What is it?
net worth is your wealth, for example. I'm not investing my net worth. I have my net worth because of my investment. A huge difference.
Your net worth is your wealth. That's not savings?
No, that's not your saving.
Okay.
Your saving is. How about you go ahead and Google disposable income?
Why are there so many terms you feel like we need to cover on the internet in order to have this conversation?
Because maybe you don't know the law as a lawyer. I know the economy as an economist. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'm mostly asking you questions. I'm not commenting that much on my knowledge of the area. I'm just asking you what you're trying to say.
I'm telling you, but I mean, you need to cooperate with me, man. I'm telling you, there's something.
You're telling me that I need to research a whole bunch of words to understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that's all.
You guys need to be able to understand each other's make-believe system.
It is not. It's not about wealth. Wealth is the result. You get capital, which gives you wealth. It is not about the gold you have, aka wealth. It is about capital that you have, which creates wealth. Hence, in the Solos growth model, you can find that the savings you have, you invest what you save to be more efficient. It's called optimality. And that.
It sounds like pedantic hair splitting without the definitions that you're saying exist and are important, but we don't have right now.
Man, I mean, I can't teach you what I learned in 5 years.
I'm sure there is a meaningful difference between wealth and savings. You're just not giving it saying if only you knew. Yeah, if only I knew.
Yeah, I mean, you can study these things or you can read about them, but if you don't even want to Google something.
It doesn't matter whether the chicken or the egg came first.
Nigga, how can I add knowledge if you don't? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things you can teach me, but how can I add to your knowledge if you don't want to learn? You don't even want to Google something.
Yeah, I'm not asking to Google. I'm asking you to explain what you. You're the one objecting to
Saving it.
wealth and savings as the same concept. That's fine.
Well,
Maybe they're not. They're obviously two different words.
They are.
But if you want to elaborate on them being separate.
I already did.
No, you didn't. You told me to go look it up.
I already told you your net worth is wealth.
Why would net worth be wealth?
Because that is your net worth. What is wealth? Can you define wealth?
Amount of value assigned to a person.
Okay, and can you define saving?
Savings, the amount of value a person assigns as disposable. No, not disposable. As
No,
Not
that's right.
spent.
Actually, that's
not
why I
spent.
told you to. That's why I told you to Google disposable
Yeah,
income.
I'm not Googling
Because
it.
wealth is the value of all the assets that you have.
The value of all of
That's
my
what I'm saying.
assets.
Correct. Your asset minus legacy.
Well, that'd be my gross worth, I guess.
That is your wealth. Exactly, net worth. That is your
I
wealth.
said gross because you didn't talk about the liabilities yet, right?
Why? You know, with the liabilities. Because you're literally what you owe. Dude, I
Before
literally
that would be my gross worth.
Gross. Fine.
actually told you that is negative. Why are you so hard, man? It's just impossible to teach you something. Saving is putting aside the portion, it's your disposable income. Well, everybody think of money, right? You know,
How do you reconcile this with Bitcoin?
your fund, your wealth is $1 million. Your saving
It
is
is?
$1 million. Your saving is, let's say, make $10,000 a month. Your disposable income is $6,000. Your saving is $6,000. Your saving is not $1 million. Your wealth is not equal to your saving. These are basic, very elementary facts.
Well, you're.
Okay, so if you're holding Bitcoin, you're not gonna, is that saving or?
My Bitcoin, my Bitcoin is part of my wealth. What I
As a speculation.
my God, my Bitcoin is an asset by definition. It's part of my wealth. What I put in Bitcoin is saving. You invest what you save to build wealth. Every month you make 10K. Your disposable income is 6K. That 6K, half of it you put in Bitcoin. In other words, every month $3,000 in Bitcoin. Okay, that is the portion of your disposable income that is allocated towards that specific investment. In the end of the day, 10 years from now, I have a lot of Bitcoin. That is part of my wealth. That's different than saving. That's why I told you, I love you, Mixed, but you are thinking like a nigger because you're assuming people are workers by definition.
No, I'm pretty much told by what I said before. You're being pedantic and hair splitting because, like,
Hey, man.
it's the subject of something.
Okay, fine. You're entitled to that belief.
No, but
My
I'm
job
just informed about savings and wealth and, like, you jump down into the
Yeah,
house. Like, it's everything. Like, okay, fine, whatever.
So this is economics 101. This is economics 101. This is basic economics. You can talk to Yaakov if you don't take my word for it. You should be.
Between wealth and savings. You mostly, like, harped on that or did not
No,
talk
I
about it.
didn't.
Whatever, that's fine. I really don't care.
I didn't. My whole point is that
Why is it you two get like this?
it's just impossible.
It's not your fault.
I'm not a nigger. I believe people should move
One
along
of these
the
in
line.
the house, one of these in.
I am more of a field one. I
Yeah,
am.
You
I am.
know your place. You have self-worth.
I do pay tax. I am still on the tax plantation, technically. But I'm avoiding it.
But it's okay because you own that land. You just can't leave.
No, it's because I don't sell anything outside the tax-free, because we have a lot of tax-free accounts in Canada that you don't have in the US, outside my Roth. I can, like, buy and sell without capital gains, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's a good incentive. It offsets the 50%
So
tax rate that you pay.
that's the only thing that we have that's better than Americans. That's the only one thing. So when it comes to real estate, Americans have a much better deal, which is very important. It's very important.
That's right. What's the property tax like in Canada if you inherit a property?
Depends. Oh no, that's different. That's inheritance tax.
Yeah, how ridiculous is it in Canada?
It
That's so
don't-
crazy. There shouldn't be an inheritance tax.
I'm not
So
inheriting
weird.
it in Canada, so I didn't really worry about it. I can't tell you exactly, but it's anal. I will be inheriting for a bit, long time.
Receiving or giving?
Why would I give? I don't even have. I'm young. I'm 27.
Joking, you said anal, bro.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's definitely receiving.
Motherfucker.
Okay, but
Yeah.
hopefully, long time from now, I will inherit, but back in Jordan, where I don't have to pay tax. Then it becomes my money over there, and then I just simply move my money from there to here. So this is a way for me to bypass the inheritance tax in Canada. That's why you should get your
Wait, so what? So you plan on having roots in Canada for possibly like some level of roots
It doesn't
in Canada?
It doesn't
For long?
matter. If I go to the US, if I go to UK, it doesn't matter where I go. It doesn't matter. Globalism
Well,
is
why did you choose the gayest country? I mean,
because it's much better.
no, I think it's the gayest one. If you can think of a gayer country, let me know.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's much better for me than the US. Because Canadians don't tax you when you're abroad. Americans do. So if I go to Canada and now I leave Canada, I can go to Dubai, live there for whatever, make a shit ton of money, and then I can come back to Canada, reestablish my residency as a Canadian citizen, and now I never paid tax dollars. However, they're gonna take care of me with their public healthcare system.
That's amazing.
Right. Whereas if you're American, you're gonna leave America, go to Dubai, where you're gonna pay American tax in Dubai. Why would you do that? That's not a good deal.
It's still less though, right? And in Dubai, like no tax.
No.
No income tax.
Because in Dubai I pay zero income tax. As a Canadian who goes to Dubai, I continue to pay zero income tax. As an American who goes to Dubai, I'm gonna have to pay American federal tax.
And you're paying what, like 25, 30? Ow, Hanley.
Well, why would I pay tax?
Everywhere.
Why would I pay tax if I can't do it?
Well, it's your passport. Whenever you want, basically. But yeah, I get it.
Canadian passport is more welcome than the American one. People
Oh,
don't say,
motherfucker, it's about to be America.
well, let's see how that goes. So that can change things for me. It's better to be an American living in America than a Canadian living in Canada. It's better to be a Canadian living abroad than an American living abroad. Wherever you go on the planet, if you open any bank account, they're gonna ask you, do you have the American citizenship? Because they wanna know. Do you own land in America? Also, they ask you. Because if you own land in America and you sell it, so not even. If I'm an American citizen, I own land in Jordan, I sell the land in Jordan, I'm gonna have to pay the Jordanian tax for selling that land, and I will also pay the American tax. Can you believe that? Pay an American tax on a land that I sold in the Middle East. Canadians don't do that.
That's right.
Right. So why would I choose the American citizenship?
I wonder what all the snowbirds do from Canada. They own homes down here, and I wonder if they do that as like it's like a tax benefit sort of thing to where. I have to ask one of them. I know a bunch of them. All the Canadians come down, or like people from Minnesota and Canada, they come down to Arizona, like 4 months out of the year. I don't know why. I guess they don't have any income generated in the U.S., so then I guess they don't have to pay taxes in the U.S. I don't know how that works.
I'm not sure what
Like
you're
what
talking.
what if you as an individual generate zero income as a U.S. citizen, but an entity that you own a portion of generates income outside of America?
Yeah, you get tax. Americans are highly taxed. They're not as highly taxed as Canadians. They're still highly taxed. Go to Dubai, see how it's like. You pay zero income tax, zero property tax, zero capital gains tax, zero inheritance tax, only 5% VAT. That's it. Nothing else.
VAT.
So and who I studied with in my undergrad, he did the bachelor's degree. He didn't even have a master's degree. He just did a bachelor's degree in management, and that's like nothing. Management is not something you study, and it's something you learn by doing. And I like him. He's a good guy, but he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Right? Nothing special there at all. He's in Dubai right now. He makes $12,000 American dollars every month, and he pays zero tax. And he pays $1,500 for his rent. And like you can imagine how much the guy saves. Yeah. So it's just 27. The 27-year-old man makes $12,000 American dollars tax free. So you do the math.
Well, like, what does he actually do? Management sounds like a very broad, like.
He studied management.
Yeah,
My job is much more complicated than him. But again, $104,000 a year, tax free. I would take that.
Yeah.
I would take that. much would you pay? I mean, how much would you pay to get that? How much does your salary have to be to get 144K after tax?
Well,
in the US?
dude, how is his rent only $1,500? Did I hear you right?
Yeah, the living standard is much higher over there. Food is so cheap.
Oh, that's like the hood over here.
Yeah, real estate is more expensive than other places. It's cheap. Relative to Canada, Dubai real estate is so cheap. It depends where, obviously. It depends what kind of real estate you want. If you want a mansion, it's gonna be expensive, but you still don't pay property tax. The size of your home, you don't pay more tax because you have a bigger home. Like, what kind of slavery is that? You see, so I'm telling you, like, yeah, capitalism is a beauty, and you niggers chose to go socialist. Some of you more than others.
Well, look, how can you benefit? Become a government contractor, like Nuveen.
I am not in favor of these things. I don't think the government should. Oh man, I don't know what to tell you. Like for example, Dubai is a model, man. Dubai is an amazing model. UAE, not just Dubai. Dubai is a city, or it's an emirate actually. But yeah,
In Dubai,
want
we like
to
scaled up like at a large level where, you know, productivity would be a significant part of their GDP, not like oil or anything like that.
Yeah, they're very.
Like, is it?
They're diversified.
Like, I know Dubai is amazing, but like I wonder if it's like partially amazing because it's like
Yeah, it started as oil. No, that's just the broken nation. Like, that's what people say because, oh, how come these guys were nothing, now they're everything. Oh yeah, that's because of capitalism, which you chose not to do. Therefore, of course, your living standard goes down. Other people have a better standard of living. So you don't want to reconcile with it, so it's easy to say, hey, oh yeah, it's just because of oil. It started because of oil. No. Dubai, in 2 days, you can get a business running in Dubai. It takes you literally 2 days. You can fully register, everything's done, good to go. Literally. So, yeah, that is something. Efficiency is a thing. They don't want to, they just want, like Dubai, legit, they just want to attract businesses. So we're not going to tax you, we're not going to dictate, we're not going to run everything for you, we're not going to, you see Telegram? Dubai for a reason. The government isn't up their ass. You have a business, be profitable. That's it.
Well, are they not like also very like they vet very well for who they let in?
Yeah, you need sponsorship.
Yeah.
You need the
Yeah, I
local.
mean, that's
Yeah,
how it should be.
That's a very good system. Yeah, the field system. It's amazing. I disagree with some parts of it. Like I can take your passport, you know, as a worker.
Oh, for what? Worker.
Yeah, and then I give it back to you when you want to travel. But I have your passport. I don't agree with that. But then again, because you're his responsibility because he's your sponsor, right?
Oh, you're saying the sponsor holds your passport,
Correct.
not the government. What?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's how it should be. It's not the government that dictates that. It's the man who dictates if he wants you, then you can come, and the government will allow it since he wants you to come. The only way the government allows it is if you sponsor him. If you sponsor him, it's done. We're not going to be an obstacle. Their government supports them. It doesn't compete with them. Like in Canada, our government competes with us. The government literally competes with the industries in Canada. Literally. It's like China. It's called state capital. Like the state behaves as a capitalist.
Yeah.
Do you have wine, alcohol? The only way you can sell alcohol is through government. The government sells the alcohol. Weed? Oh, the government sells the weed. Not you. The government sells it. Electricity? Oh, okay. Even public transport, half privatized, and where I'm at, still the government controls everything. The government is everywhere in every shape and form. They literally run businesses that compete with the private sector.
Well, how does that work? Like, how is it competing? Like, how can there be?
everything.
It's so unfair.
Everyone is, because the government is so big to the point where every single one is dependent on the government, and then the government can crush you because you are dependent on it, yet it is running a competitor business. So the private sector in Canada is totally destroyed, and that's why when Trump says something, then yeah, the private sector is gonna get totally destroyed in Canada, and that's obviously because we're like totally dependent. There's no private sector, basically, not anymore. So this is what happens when you choose socialism.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So most employees are government employees, and the government employees grow more than anyone else. The private sector is shrinking. The public sector is growing. And then they say, oh, we added jobs, we created jobs, we did all of that. But that's because the growth of the government is quicker than the downfall of the private sector. So it would seem like the economy is good. But if you look into what these jobs are that are created, it's all government jobs that are low paying anyways, and they're not productive. So just go ahead and look at the charts. Look at the productivity of the Canadian worker versus the productivity of the American. We used to be identical throughout history, up until recently with Trudeau. After Trudeau, it goes down like crazy. Everything is government. Everything is government. These guys don't work. You see how Elon Musk sent? He sent, "Tell me what you worked on the past week with Doge."
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why he does that. It's because government workers don't do shit. They don't work. So I don't need to work. I'm being paid anyways. We're getting funded. It doesn't matter if I work or not. I'm still gonna get paid, and so is my boss, and so is his boss.
Well, I think that's the low hanging fruit to actually to see who's actually like literally not responding because they're no longer either alive or they might not even be real. I think that was like a quick way to like cleanse out like okay, you need a responder. Huh?
There is that, but there's another thing, which is if all you did in the past week is read an article, that tells you something. I mean, in the private sector, people work their ass off. So, but that's why they're productive. Anyways, all I'm telling you is, with the private sector is a productive sector. So, and that's what you need, more productivity, if you want a better standard of living. You don't have that. Trump is trying to do it. That's why he wants manufacturing to come back.
Yeah.
Right, Canada's gonna get destroyed, but that's fine.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Nothing, I don't mind it. I'm invested in the American market. I have $0 in the Canadian market. I would like it if Canada is good since I live here, but in terms of markets, I don't care.
Well, I mean, hopefully.
We don't have our government, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I know you're a cock. I know.
So I don't care. Like, I don't care what happens to the private sector. I would, because I want to move to the private sector, but at the same time, I don't want to move because then what if with this whole, it's not doing good. The private sector is not doing good. So you might go there and then get fired in less than a week because of tariffs or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So why would I do that again? You see, I'm trying to save my ass. I don't care about your ass.
Well, you're gonna remain poor if you're just working for the dollar. You need to get Bitcoin.
I have a lot of Bitcoin. I'm trying to get other shit.
That's fine. Hold on, sorry, I'm texting this bitch. Yeah, I was going through my like phone chat history, and I found this number from like 2021. The very naughty chat history. And so I texted it. This is very weird. I don't remember this girl.
Sorry?
Never mind.
still thinking about your dick instead of thinking about your money.
How do you think I earn my money, motherfucker?
You earn money with your dick?
That's right.
What are you, a Johnny Sins type of motherfucker?
No, if I'm a rich conservative, then I'm facing a fuck with wife.
Oh, okay. Well,
I have a lot of debt, so the incels will. What was your plan again?
Oh, but that doesn't work for you if you don't have a wife.
Wait, lay it out again. What was it? A quick line you were gonna have that incels with money will pay. Oh, that okay.
It's a conservative plan to promote the conservative family. That's how you sell it. And to promote the conservative family and the well-being of the conservative household by putting more money in their pockets and alleviating the burden of debt. That's like the cover pay. So they'll be
but hold on, how do we get the conservatives to pay for something that they're already getting for free?
No, they're not. I'm telling you.
No, they're getting cooked.
I'm telling you, this is how you sell it. This is the cover of it. This is not the content. This is the cover. This is a plan to promote the conservative family and preserve their well-being by putting more money in their pockets and easing the burden of their debts. They will love it. They will click it. They will open it. What is this plan about? I love it. Sounds good. We're doing something. And then they learn how it's done. And you know how it's done.
That's right.
That's right. Anyways, El Normal, what was he saying? He's saying Rabbi wants to be a Jew. Is that what he believes?
No, he had good things to say about you.
Yeah, because we had a good discussion. What did he say? He's talking about the... Oh, he did say that I reignited his spiritual interest.
He said that there's this... how you were going against the Palestinians or something, and Mikhail or some shit. He was saying that you were going against the Palestinians and Mikhail or some shit yesterday or earlier today. Oh, Mikhail's going crazy or some shit.
I wasn't... They are going after me. It's not the other way around.
No, yeah, that's what he was saying. That's what he was saying, they were going after you.
Yeah, long story short, is they're saying that I'm not Palestinian because I disagree with Hamas. And it's like, nigga, do you know that most Palestinians disagree with Hamas? Are you aware, especially if you take the diaspora of Saudi, are you aware of that? Oh, no, if you don't support Hamas, then you're not a Palestinian according to these people. So it's like, okay, do you understand that then the Palestinian president is not Palestinian according to your dumb definition? This is friends, dude, like, the low tier.
I mean, that could resolve all of the refugee statuses. Then we could say those aren't Palestinians, they're now members of their states, and the only true Palestinians are affiliates of Hamas.
So that's what Mikhail, I don't know if you know Mikhail and
I do.
Friends. Yeah, that's what these people are like. They're like hardcore jihad, like terrorists.
Yeah, I know, from California.
Right, so I'm sorry, I disagree with Hamas. I
Yeah,
don't think
because
Hamas...
it's stupid. Like, if you really wanted to accomplish something, you would not do it the way Hamas is doing it.
I would not. I think that's a retarded... I disagree with Zionism.
Sure,
But
that's fine, but like, Hamas... Listen, say what you will about Zionism. It worked. It is producing something. What is Hamas doing?
No, that's not my claim. I disagree with Zionism. I don't think it works. But
Okay.
they're calling me a Zionist because I disagree with Hamas. I'm like, nigga,
Why can't
Are
you
you
disagree
aware?
with Hamas and be against the Zionists?
I don't know. I don't know why I can't be that. I
Wait,
don't
so
know.
in their opinion, the PA is not Palestinian?
It seems like, according to Prince, and the dumb thing that he gave me is like, you don't fit the standard to be the... I'm like, nigga, who the hell elected you? It's like nobody elected me. I'm like, nigga, okay, but
He claims if he's Palestinian.
He's not even Palestinian. He's originally Syrian from North Lebanon, culturally. But he's saying I'm not Palestinian. Because I disagree with Hamas. I'm like, nigga, what are you talking about, son?
Well, I mean, is he less Lebanese if he disagrees with Hezbollah?
According to people like him, probably.
Interesting.
No, actually, no, because Hezbollah is Shiite. So he probably wouldn't have that take. Because
Yeah, that is weird.
he's very dumb. He's not a smart guy, dude. That's what I'm telling you. He's not a smart guy. So
Well, he wants death.
he goes with emotions. The same goes for Mikhail. Like, the guy's drunk in Ramadan 24/7. It's like this. How about you talk to me when you sober up? Yeah, I'm sorry. I disagree, man. I just disagree. And,
With Zionism?
no, yes, I disagree with Zionism, but with them. So, like,
Oh, yeah.
you guys have it also, but not as bad as the Palestinians.
What? Also, but not as bad as Palestinians.
Like, you guys are, if you disagree with the Zionists, then you are whatever. But it's not as bad as the Palestinians, where what we have is a sort of hyper.
Listen, all ideologies engage in gatekeeping. And sometimes those are productive and sometimes they're not. It's a secret sauce to get it, like, to a nice, productive, critical mass, where, like, you're saying all of the things you agree with, but still critiquing it so that you can not just be in an echo chamber.
Well, that's the thing. So on the Palestinian side of things, our movement is hijacked for like at least 40 years now.
Oh yeah, 100% no. You guys are like the poster child for whatever Islam wants to campaign about. Like, you're a fundraiser.
To a large extent, and not just the Muslims, it's also like the non-Palestinian Arabs who believe in like pan-Arabism and things like that, and the Islamists.
Yeah, it's like a weird funding for like big Middle East projects or something. But like, it only works so long as you guys are still disadvantaged. Like, there's no will. Like, that political will is billions deeper than the population of Palestinians, is more productive to more people, and is irrelevant to the Palestinians, except that the Palestinians need to stay in a horrible, terrible state because we need to collect more money. We don't have enough yet.
There is truth to that.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
We're just simply not represented in this movement.
Yeah, we're not hearing Palestinians. We're hearing everyone else yelling about how horrible it is to treat the Palestinians any way than what they say.
Yeah, but like, as for me, most of the people I know are Palestinian anyways back home.
Right.
Most of them are like me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they're like me in one sense, which is like, for example, if you ask me personally, I don't give two shits if it's a one-hit solution. I don't mind that. I don't mind it being called Israel, and I don't, to me the problem is a displacement problem, and if you give us our equal rights, then that is not an issue. That's it. I don't think we should. All the Jews should be sent back. For example, if you ask me,
it's also a non-starter.
Your ancestor comes from Europe, but if you're born here, your father is born here, and his father is born here, can I tell you this is not your land also? I'm not so sure.
I don't know.
So I'm open to them being there, but like, give us our rights. You see, that's, most Palestinians are like me, but you're not gonna hear those. You're gonna hear the Mikhails of the
No, I
world.
find them. They're quieter. They don't talk loud like the jihadis.
Well, I'm super loud. It's just that you're automatically.
You're not loud. You're a troll. You hide.
No.
Yeah, trolling is hiding. You could just be honest with your opinions and worldviews, but you prefer to be a troll. It's fine. People have pastimes.
No, I'm honest in my trolling. I don't find it.
No. You more lean towards controversial statements that you feel you can back up a little.
Depends, I guess.
It's the controversy that leads your goal, not the truth. Not what you're really saying, not what you're trying to communicate. You want people to fight you.
It depends how much you know me. I mean, if you don't know me much, then...
I've seen you for years.
Nigga, you don't know me much. Ask Abe. Like, Abe knows when I'm trolling and when I'm not trolling.
Okay.
Ask him, you know.
There's psychology to trolling.
That's fine.
There's nothing wrong
No,
with it.
the more you know me, the more you'll get to know how I operate. So like, yes, I do troll, but I'm not just that. So
I'm not saying you're just that.
right, so but I'm honest with my shit. I speak loudly, but the problem is again, like what happened is they tell you you're not Palestinian. You must be a liar. You're not Palestinian because you disagree. Like okay, but then what you're saying is you have an artificial monolith that if I deviate a single inch from, then automatically I'm a traitor or I'm not Palestinian or whatever. But,
Yeah, you can see how Islamic reasoning gets like that, right? They're very fascistic with the in-out thinking, like you have to say and do the right things.
yeah, I would say you guys are also niggers in that way, but not as bad as us.
What? I'm confused.
The Zionists, you guys are also.
Oh, in terms of gatekeeping. Yeah, 100%. No, Zionism got super gatekeeping. Like, there were a bunch of different strains of Zionism early on when they were trying to make the state. But the IDF is the militant branch. Like, they were the ones that really amped up security.
Yeah, so it's a sticky situation, but again, it's not as bad. I mean, you seem to understand that, but we're not all like those.
Yeah,
Like, I'm nothing like Kale and Prince. It's just like, but there's a lot of Yiddish guys.
yeah, you're more likely to go on a zealous rant about, like we were, economics and capitalism than you are about Israel-Palestine.
You know, even with Israel Palestine, I disagree with Zionism because it's aside from I think
You don't like the exclusivity of it, that it kicked
No,
down.
well, I do think that Zionists are exactly like the Nazis, but aside from that, the way I judge it first and foremost is how it poses itself to be versus what it is. Forget the Palestinians. I don't think Zionism is compatible with Judaism, so that's my issue. Is more spiritual with you guys. It's not that.
That's like a weird objection to make up, right? Like, no one is going to consider your judgment on Jewish fulfillment of Jewish law to be, like, persuasive. I know you call yourself a rabbi, but no one thinks that an Orthodox Christian Arab that's pretending to be a rabbi is anyone's expert on, like, fulfillment of Jewish law. So, like, that's a weird argument.
Yeah, but they can.
It's an easily defeatable argument.
No,
It's an argument that, like, is asking to be destroyed. Like, you're saying, like, I know they're following their laws badly. Like, what do you even care if they're following their laws badly? They're laws, right? There you go. Diffused. What's your argument now?
No, they are my laws.
They're your laws? So what do you care how they fulfill their interpretation of what you consider to be your laws?
Well, because their interpretation has real-life consequence, and the ultra-Orthodox agree with it.
Okay, so that was 2 different points. A, their consequences.
No.
Are you saying that the consequences of them following through on their interpretation of the laws are bad in your assessment?
No.
No?
I can tell you what I mean. The ultra-Orthodox agree with me.
Well, that was the second thing you said. We didn't touch that yet.
It's the issue. That's the main issue here. I agree with them also. I do believe that Zionism is incompatible. I think Zionism is an attack on Judaism.
Who have you spoken to from the Orthodox Jewish community?
I don't have to speak to them in general to know what they believe.
I mean, you are talking to one member of the Orthodox Jewish community.
I can explain to you. There's a rabbi called Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro.
Okay.
He's actually smart. He's a Yiddish guy from New York. Maybe you've heard of him.
Maybe.
Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro is a smart guy. If you look into what he says, I agree with a lot of things that he says regarding that.
Okay, so you're saying you found a rabbi and you agree with his views?
I found a rabbi who agrees with my views.
Well, okay, but what was the value of finding the rabbi?
That it refutes your claim that no one agrees with me. But there's a lot of
Oh, you're saying he had support for your position?
Yeah, he did teach me some things.
Okay, so I'd say go find that rabbi.
Why would I do that?
Because, like you said, he taught you some things.
He did teach me some things, especially regarding the early.
I'm just saying, this is like simple appointment of a teacher kind of concepts. Like, if there was an area of insight that you were curious in, and you found someone that had insight in there and gave it to you freely, and you enriched your life, why would you stop going to that guy?
I wasn't. It's not that I was curious and he gave it to me. It's more like he added to my knowledge within a certain domain.
Yeah.
But I already believe
I'd say go to him.
I do believe that Zionism is incompatible with Judaism.
Okay, but I'd say, like, go have understand the concept. Yeah, I don't think it's incompatible with Judaism, but you know, teach its own.
It's just not exactly, but I think these things are very. I mean, you know, I do. I've read that Torah. What are you talking about? I'm reading that. Look at Yitzchak in the audience. Look at reading. So Satmar is anti-Zionist. What the hell is Satmar?
Satmar is a family of Chassidim.
Oh, yeah, well, I love them. I love the Hasids. So, like, to me, like, for example, if you check the early Zionist writers, they were the most anti-Semitic. It's great if you just read what they write about the Jews. Like, how the Jews are so weak and pathetic, and we don't want to be like them. We want to be like the Goyim and whatever. We have, you know, so they recreated Judaism. They hijacked Judaism. The Zionists hijacked Judaism. So I do believe it to be a big problem to the Torah observant Jews, which are the ones that I like. I don't like the secular Jews. I find them to be super detestable. But you already know that.
Let me put a question to both of you, right? Okay, so what is Zionism and how do you define Zionism? You can be a religious Zionist.
Okay.
You know, like Mizrahi, there's religious Zionists that believe in keeping the Torah and making Israel closer to being a theocracy as possible.
So I can tell you a few things on that front. First things first, how do you define Zionism? That's a very good question. And that is the problem, is that it is very open-ended. It's exactly like terrorism. It means different things to different people. That is an issue. Now, number two is you said that there's Zionists who believe in like keeping Torah and whatever, but everyone keeps Torah if they can redefine Torah. So I'm keeping Torah. So Shabtai keeping Torah by telling people to go against Torah. But he redefined it. You know Shabtai Tzvi, right?
Yes, we know of them.
Yeah, and he's telling you need to do orgies on the Shabbos. So yeah. How's that Torah? I don't know, but I mean, he is full of Torah. You see what I'm saying? So what you believe?
Yeah, but he was a charlatan.
Yeah, okay, but who's going to say that you're not? Who's to say that you're a rabbi, isn't?
I mean, I'm fine with saying I'm not a charlatan.
Yeah, of course, we all are. I'm pretty sure.
I have yet to lead a movement like Shabtai Tzvi. I feel like that works to my credit.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Shabtai Tzvi himself didn't see himself as a charlatan.
I'm pretty sure he did after he converted.
No, he didn't convert out of, he converted out of, well, his followers would disagree with you.
He's talking about the guys in Turkey? Yeah. No one cares what they think. The Muslims don't care what they think. The Jews don't care what they think. They barely care what they think.
Regardless, I'm just trying to tell you that who is to say these things? I can reinterpret things and, okay, I'm keeping Torah.
Well, I'm trying to use the word charlatan as its best use. Like, to describe the Shabtai Tzvi phenomenon. Charlatan is like the best word.
Okay, but Shabtai Tzvi is a charlatan.
Yeah.
But charlatans are not. But charlatans are not Shabtai Tzvi. You can be a charlatan without doing what he did. You can be a charlatan. You can be a charlatan. You can be a charlatan by claiming you follow Torah when you don't. Right?
Okay, sure. There's many ways to be a charlatan.
Correct. Exactly. So then, when people are religious,
But I'm still not sure why you're bringing up Shabtai Tzvi.
because when people are religious Zionists, the Zionists who claim to follow Torah, but okay, that's all it is. It's a claim that they follow Torah. I believe the Torah is incompatible with Zionism.
Why?
Many reasons. One reason is that you believe the Mashiach didn't come, and you can only establish a Jewish state after Mashiach comes.
Why?
What? Why? You don't think that's the case?
Why would the state only come after the Messiah comes? Wouldn't it be the opposite?
No, it's not the opposite.
Why not?
Well, because I just so that they.
Like if the Messiah, let's put it this way: if the Messiah is identified as the Messiah by an anointing, by a body of water, with all of the Jewish people observing, then how would the Jewish people be in the land of Israel observing the anointing of the Messiah if they weren't already in the land of Israel, right? They'd have to be there. They'd have to be there before the Messiah is revealed.
I mean, I have answers to those, but I'm trying to stick to the Jewish realm. Because I disagree with the Jewish realm, and I can.
No, I'm saying practically, formulaically. If we're going to say that there is a Messiah coming, that the Jews are going to follow their priestly order, anoint a king of the Jews by a body of water, while the nation observes, that sounds like the state is already functional by the time he is revealed.
Yes, but I disagree with that.
Similar to how David showed up, right? Saul was king after they were already settled in the land. They had eras of judges and prophets before it rose to the level of a monarch that they appointed. And the guy they had before that, Gideon, I think, he was like a pure general, like not designed to be a king.
Okay, I can tell you what it is, but again, that I'm trying to stick to your worldview, which I have to disagree with. However, from your worldview, there is a Messiah who gathers the exiles, therefore they are exiled. So you are in exile up until the coming of the Messiah. So
No, it just feels like you're excluding too many perfectly plausible interpretations of a vague prophecy that has been running for thousands of years.
It's not me, it's the ultra-Orthodox Jews. But because it is in line with your Jewish beliefs.
Okay, so if there are, whatever these quote-unquote ultra-Orthodox Jews, making a case, right, based on prophecies of the Messiah, they are proving through their hermeneutics and their wisdom of the text that such and such cannot be done A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. Yet at the same time, all of those commentaries will be very freely rejected the second some oil is put on a king's head. Right? The proper interpretation of the prophecy goes one of two different ways. Either A, you are preserving the received understanding from the original audience as it was best carried out through time, or you are today reading the thing, and it's new.
I'm not sure why. How can the Messiah gather exiles if they're already gathered?
How can the Messiah gather with the exiles? The rabbis discussed the different prophecies about the Messianic age. There's like one era where he's waging war. There's another where everyone's impoverished. There's another where everyone's happy and healthy.
I can answer all these things. I'm trying to.
Yeah. A lot of people answer all of these things. That's what I'm saying. They're all just answered. They're arguments. The Christians and the Jews have both been making their case that either it has already happened, it hasn't happened yet, and it's definitely going to happen this way.
The text already answered these questions, but
Okay.
but it's already been answered.
That's just an argument.
It is an argument.
Yeah.
That's me because
And I'm saying the Jews have their arguments. So I'm not complaining. All I'm saying is I'm more persuaded by facts and reality than interpretations. Someone wants to say the Messianic age has to go A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Okay, maybe. Someone else accomplishes the Messianic age without going A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. Then I'd say that interpreter was wrong.
Yeah, but I'm not focusing on interpretations. I'm telling you, I don't care what the Jews or the Christians think. I care what the Torah says.
Okay, but that seems weird. What do you mean?
You can call yourself a Jew, and you can call yourself a Christian, and like disagree with God and His prophets. That doesn't. You're neither a Jew nor a Christian, regardless what you call yourself.
That feels like an unsecular thing. Why are you talking about like secular Jews?
No, I'm not talking about secular Jews. I'm telling you that you can call my point. I'm not talking about the interpretations of these texts. I'm also not telling you my beliefs on the matter because I can easily argue these things. I'm trying to stick to your worldview, which is the Jewish rabbinical understanding of things. And I'm trying to tell you how from your groups, the ultra-Orthodox disagree with you.
Why? Why would Zionism be wrong under a Jewish model?
Because only after the Messiah comes can you establish a so-called Jewish state, and you believe the Messiah didn't come, and the Messiah gathers the exiles. So you are in exile until the coming of HaMashiach, according to your own rabbis.
If that were true, then why would some rabbis be of the opinion that it is an obligation upon a Jew to move to Israel?
You have to be in Israel or near Israel for the temple. Now, you don't have a temple, but when the Messiah comes,
Yeah, but regardless of the temple, the obligation stands. Jews from all eras have moved to Israel.
Because of the temple.
I'm just saying they are always moving back. You're saying that it's the Messiah that's going to pull it up. But what if they just move back?
I'm saying they move there because of the temple. You have to
But
do the...
what happens if they're just there? Like, if no Messiah has been revealed, and it just happens to be, like, practically, let's just say, every single Jew on the planet is in Israel. You're just going to deny that as a fact?
I disagree with what you claim to be a fact. I'm saying your rabbi.
This is a hypothetical. Understand, this is not a curse. I'm simply saying, in the event that this happens, you're saying because of your interpretation of Scripture, you would deny the reality of it. And I'm confused.
I'm not denying the reality of it. I don't believe your version of reality. I don't believe to be real. I'm trying to tell you that your rabbis also disagree with you.
I mean, the Jews are there now, right? We agree with those facts.
The Jews are not there.
They're not there. Okay, who's there?
Some people who are Jewish, some people, most of them who claim to be Jewish. At the same time, there's a lot of Jews like your humble self who are all the way in New York.
Right.
Right.
But, like, there are a lot of Jews living in Israel, right?
So what does that mean?
Well, the majority of Jews on the planet live in the land of Israel. Legally, that matters actually a great deal.
Yeah, but I don't think God is playing ping pong with you. I don't think God does.
I didn't say ping pong. I'm just saying that the majority of Jews on the planet live in Israel.
What does that mean? And you're assuming that these Jews are Jewish. You're assuming those.
You should say I'm assuming the Jews are Jewish.
Yeah, and you're assuming that correct, and you're assuming that you can be a Jew without being Jewish, and which also contradicts Torah.
Jew without being Jewish.
Yeah, if you're not Jewish, you're not a Jew, according to
I'm not sure what you think you're saying right now.
Huh?
I'm not sure what you think you're saying right now.
Yeah, I'm saying that if you're not Jewish, you're not a Jew.
That seems tautological.
That don't make sense.
That seems biblical.
When it comes to the curses, though, it doesn't. When you come to the curses, it doesn't mean you have to pick this covenant. Or the covenant is already given to you and your forefathers. That was on Sinai.
If you don't believe in Torah, you're not a Jew.
Where does it say that?
Exodus chapter 31, verse 14. If you don't keep the Shabbos, you'll be cut off from the people. If you
That's not the same as not keeping the Torah. That's
okay. Well, you can, then, if that's the case, then you should check the book of Numbers where there's the second census of Israel, and it will teach you what it means to be cut off from the people, like what happened to the children of Korah. The children of Korah rebelled against Moshe, and because of that, they were cut off from the people. They're no longer considered to be of the tribes, which is why they didn't receive an inheritance in the land, as according to that census. Now, if you rebel against the Moshe, you're no longer. Imagine rebelling against God Himself. Yeah, you're not a Jew. If you don't believe in Torah, you're not a Jew. Period.
But you didn't cite proof for that.
I literally just
You cited if you don't keep the Sabbath, and you quoted it, and rolled on.
Okay, you are more than free to do your own research and check Exodus 31 verse 14 and compare to understand what it means to cut off. Go to the second census.
Again, you're highlighting on a different detail. I was questioning what it means to cut off. Yeah,
you can't ask me to explain something and then interrupt the explanation and assume that I never explained.
I'm not asking you to explain. I'm pointing out that you said you had evidence that if you don't follow the Torah, you're cut off.
Yes.
And you failed to present the evidence.
If you say
highlighting it over and over again.
If you
trying to ignore it.
You can say I failed. That doesn't mean I did. Just like you can call yourself a Jew, it doesn't mean you are.
You said keep the Sabbath. That's not the Torah. Those are two different words. Different concepts. They mean different things.
So I'm inviting you to check Exodus chapter 31, verse 14.
Okay.
If you don't keep Shabbos, you're not a Jew.
Again, that's not supporting the claim you said you would have.
You're supposed to put the God. So if you don't keep the Shabbat, that doesn't mean you're not a Jew, That means that you're going to die. It means you're going to go to death.
Okay, can you keep reading it? And then go to the second census of Israel. Actually, it would be nice if you compare the first census of Israel with the second census of Israel, because the only difference is that the children of Korah were cut off. Yeah, they got swallowed. Correct. No, I swallowed them because they survived, but they were removed from the. Even though those who survived were removed from the census, because the census, based on the census, you receive the inheritance that is Jacob, according to the number of the adult man above 20 in each tribe. I know the Torah inside out, dude. So yeah, I disagree, and the ultra-Orthodox would agree with me. So again, you have these Christians within your camp. No, I disagree with all your camps, even the ultra-Orthodox, although I like them more because of this they know Torah.
it's not that someone doesn't keep Shabbos or anything. They're not Jewish. They're like at the status where they're kiggling, to use the words that are like a non-Jew.
That's basically.
Wait, they don't need to convert anything. They should keep the mitzvahs in all sense. They're Jewish in that sense, just in the sense that there's certain, let's say, benefits and certain application allowed to them in relation to them, where it's very different.
But you're relying on the Talmud and some rabbi for that explanation.
When you actually go to the text itself, there's no, okay, for example, when it says cut off from among the people, there's no like definition of what that even would mean.
I literally, that's exactly why I'm telling you to go check the second census of Israel so that you see what it means to be cut off, because that's what happened to the children of Korah.
It means you don't. Okay, I have to look at it. Let's just say, saying they break
His argument is that cutting off is removed from the names
Oh,
of
no,
tribes.
they didn't break Shabbos. Okay, so let me clarify. They didn't break Shabbos, but breaking Shabbos gets you cut off. They were cut off for a different reason. They rebelled against Moshe. So, but again, rebelling against God is much worse than rebelling against Moshe. Regardless, you are rebelling against Moshe by not following this Torah.
So you understand what he's saying cut off is?
You can go to Exodus. Numbers. I forgot which chapter it is. You can go to the book of Numbers, the fourth book of the Torah. You can compare the first census with the second census, and you can understand it on your own. Of course, you should know that. I suppose you know that the census is very important because the inheritance is Jacob, correct? So all the Israelites got inheritance except for the Levites. Regardless, the census is very important because how do we divide the land? And the land has to be reshuffled according to Jubilee, which you're not doing in Israel. Therefore, it's not a Jewish state because it's not in line with the Torah.
Let me ask you a question, Rabbi. If you were saying that they were cut off from the census, which would sacrifice any claims to have the land, how would the Levites be losing anything by Kares if they were already not inheriting any land?
Yeah, the Levites are not inheriting any land because these guys have special laws, and you should know that because you claim to be a Levite.
Yeah, I'm going. But my question is, to your understanding, in terms of the Korah rebellion, you're saying that they get cut off, and you cite as proof that they get cut out from the tribal affiliations. But why would they be tracking the Levite families if that was only for a portion of inheritance?
For a different reason. The Levites are important because you need the Levites to be the priests. If you're not a Levite, you can't be a priest. Which is why with the Mashiach, you will have a different the Levites are done for. You have a different priesthood in the order of Melchizedek because your genealogy was destroyed by the Romans. There's a reason why they destroyed it, so that you can never build another temple. You will never be able to build a temple because you don't know who's a Levite. You can claim you're a Levite, you can't prove it. So the ultra-Orthodox will be the first people to tell you, no, we're not going to build a temple. You need to wait for Mashiach for that to happen. Regardless, if there's no temple, there's no reason for you to live there. It is not a Jewish state. You don't even do the Jubilee. So, I'm telling you, there's a million reasons as to why Zionism is, in fact, it counters Judaism. It's a direct attack on Judaism. Zionism is a direct attack on Judaism.
Because they don't keep the Yovel to your satisfaction?
Because they change what it is to be a Jew. The Jews are the people
Also,
who
do
accept
you know what level of detail they go into to keep the Shemitah cycle? You just like flat out accuse them of not holding by the Yovel. I don't think you know what they really do in the state.
You are aware that
They don't.
if you keep
They do keep the Shemitah.
Wait, they haven't kept it since the first temple, even in the second.
Okay, but you can keep the Shemitah in line with the law because if you break one rule, it says if you broke all of it, and you know that. You know that. I shouldn't be the one telling you.
What? I've never heard that if you break one rule, you break all of them.
Of course.
I've never heard that.
So there's the American Constitution. I don't steal, but I kill. Am I a good citizen? No, I don't steal, but I do. So if that is the case with the secular law, why don't you think that the divine law is even more just? Is it just for me to say that you follow Torah when you don't follow it?
So wait. So if I have sex with
Sounds like it would be false.
I commit adultery
is that the same as me eating bacon, pork bacon?
No.
Is that the so will I get the death penalty? I get the death penalty for having sex with somebody's wife, but I don't get the death penalty for me. So how is it the same? How is that the same?
No one's saying the same.
No, you're saying you break one law, you break all the laws, and I don't know where you got that.
If you break the law, you broke the law.
You said
That's all
you
I'm saying.
said that it was so obviously known that I already knew it. I've never heard it before in my life. Who told you you break one law, you break all of them?
Because you're misinterpreting my words, and I'm clarifying it for you so that you may no longer have to misrepresent them.
Yeah, just tell me what you're trying to say.
I already did, and so I'll do it again. If you break one rule, it's as if you broke them all because you broke the law. It doesn't matter how many laws you keep and how many you break. You broke it.
Yeah, who is telling you that? Like, I don't.
So again,
Doesn't strike me as like good advice.
We get that from James.
thank you. I don't steal. I'm a good citizen. I don't steal, but I kill. I'm a good citizen. Yeah, okay. You don't steal, but you kill. Okay, that you broke the law. Period. The law that Moshe Rabbeinu gave you is the law that you should follow.
Yeah,
Not the law
but
that
the
you
guy
break.
who steals is not breaking the law as badly as the guy who kills.
That's fine. I never said he is breaking it as badly. I said he is breaking it.
Yeah, but it's not. The whole point is you're saying it's comparable as if he threw off the whole system.
No, I'm saying that he broke it.
Yeah, but that was already true at the beginning of the sentence. We didn't need the extra bullshit.
So I'm saying that you shouldn't break it. Now,
Yeah, you already said that when you said here's the law. Like that implies don't break it.
I think you're making it unnecessarily difficult to convey basic information that I'm really very clearly conveying. I'm not sure. You break the Torah, you break the Torah. Different things. So having intercourse with an animal is not the same as having intercourse with another man's wife. Okay, how does God deal with you differently?
Wait, they're both death penalties. One is called abomination, I think.
Fine, but neither you nor I know how God deals with people. We can speculate over what is more sinful than other things. It would
No.
suffice to say that-
There are 4 different types of death penalties, and that's exactly to illustrate this level of severity of each of the crimes.
Yeah, even then, I don't think things are equal.
They're not equal. That's the point of the 4 different
No,
ones.
so even within the same, so you
That's right within death penalties, and not everything's in a capital offense.
So you're saying
In all punishments, you have ones that kill you and ones that don't. Of the ones that kill you, even there, we have delineations of importance.
I'm telling you, even within the ones that kill you, within the same bracket of importance, they're still not the same importance. We don't know how God deals with things. He deals with things as he deals with them. My job isn't to determine what is more sinful than the other. My job is to know that both are sinful, and therefore thou shalt not practice them.
No, I think you also have to understand the rationale behind them. Do you think God gave you, like, if God wanted you to follow a strict regimen, he would have just given you rules.
He did give you rules.
But he didn't just give you rules.
He gave you rules.
Right? It could have just been the 10 Commandments.
He gave you.
God could have just gone, here you go, 10, done.
You're the one who does that with your legalism. I don't go by your legalism. So I agree that he didn't just give you rules. You're the one who.
He gave a whole story.
I am more than aware. I don't believe that he just gave you rules. You're the one who insists on dividing it into 613 commandments, and you're the one who has a legalism.
That's only to see when there was an instruction and when there wasn't. Like, the book itself is not an instruction manual.
It's not an instruction manual, it's more like a warning post. These are the little things, so that you may know that these acts are sinful. Yet, when you know that they are sinful, your sin becomes exceedingly sinful. Because now
Speaking more than anything, the Torah is like a constitution to the Israeli state.
I'm telling you what it is, that when you sin, you're no longer out of ignorance, not out of rebellion. Because you know it's sinful. You've been given the
I
Torah.
don't know, you like keep talking about sin when the Torah is clearly broader than sin.
I understand that, but the Torah is a
Well, why are you obsessed with sin?
Because sin is a very major part of Torah.
No,
It's
it very much is not.
Yes, it is. Actually, if you read what the sages that you
Go look it up. How much of the Torah is saying this is a good or
Oh,
bad
don't you
thing?
see how-
And how much of the Torah is saying
this happened after this, and then this happened, and then this has happened.
Is obeying a commandment.
It's events. It's a series of narratives.
Yeah, but that's not all it is. I don't see why you're.
I didn't say that's all it is.
Okay, the law is there's laws for you to fulfill. The law is not merely law.
It feels like you're projecting the legal importance as being primary onto me.
That is.
And I'm not saying anything close to that.
I'm not the legalistic one here. You are.
I am legalist,
Okay.
and yet you're the one imposing legalism.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Why talk about sin? Well, why is one sin the violation of the whole Torah?
Because you.
Right? I know the whole story. I told everyone.
Because.
I've known all of the things. But you say I erred, and I threw the whole thing away. I haven't been protecting it all.
No,
I don't think you know what the Torah is.
Man, I just don't know what the point of a discussion or a dialogue is. If you're just going to insist on misrepresenting me, even when I explain it over and over and over again, that's the nigger behavior that I told you about. But I'm making it very clear what I'm saying, so that you do not have the ability to misrepresent me, yet you continue to do it.
I think you suffer from a terrible assumption that your assessment of the clarity of your speech is determinative as to my ability to understand what you're saying, or anyone's really. Like, it's weird. You think that if you judge your words clean, everyone is evil for misunderstanding you. That's insane.
When did I even make that claim?
You just did.
No, you just continue.
You said over and over again, I have said what I said very clearly. And if you are this, then
it doesn't get clear because I understood your misunderstanding and I
understood my misunderstanding.
Yes, and I clarified it not once but twice or 3 times even. That I'm saying if you broke it, you broke it. That's what I'm saying. Regardless of if
that's a tautology. You weren't saying that. You've retreated to tautological statements.
Yes. Well then, okay, we have to agree to disagree. And I see the Torah differently than you do. To me, the Torah is a thing you ought to follow and not cherry pick. You can choose to cherry pick it. That's up to you. To me, you have to keep it. And if you break it, you break it. It doesn't matter how much of it you break. If you break it, you break it. This is my.
I think you're looking at the Torah wrong.
Okay, you might. Okay.
It sounds like you're treating it like a yes/no checklist or something.
Let's agree to disagree. I disagree that that's what I'm doing. Let's agree to disagree because it's very difficult to convey things to you, man.
I mean, like, the Torah doesn't start, thou shalt not kill. It starts in the beginning of God's creating the heaven and the earth.
Correct. And I still don't see how that has a bearing on the fact that it does tell you thou shalt not kill.
Because what does that have to do with that? Right?
It doesn't have to do with
Why the fuck? If I'm supposed to be judging sins and good deeds, why do we start in the beginning of God's creating of the heavens and the earth? That seems a bit broader. Feels like, you know what sin means? It means miss the mark. I feel like if this book is about sin, it really missed the mark.
You're entitled to your feelings. If you think that, then you think that. I disagree with you.
I think you don't know how to read. Like, read the book a few times. I assure you, you won't get the impression that it's telling you only about sin.
But I assure you, I know the Torah more than anyone you ever met.
I think you've looked for certain parts of the Torah that you wanted to study. I doubt you've actually approached it as if it was like a simple book that you wanted to analyze and critically evaluate. I doubt it. Very heavily. It's hard. It's hard. You grew up in a place with a bunch of people that had very particular ways to read that very specific book, and it's hard to get the quiet and read it honestly for yourself.
So you can continue to assume things, or you can have a dialogue.
No, I mean, I don't have to assume it. You've already submitted your understanding.
But you are assuming things, and that's why I took a long time
Listen,
ago.
I don't have to assume. I've studied the Torah
But you are
for
assuming it.
decades in more prestigious schools than you have ever even gotten close to. And I assure you, your knowledge, you have expressed your understanding of the Torah clearly enough that I can very simply judge it as incorrect.
Well, that's fine. Well, then your problem is with the ultra-Orthodox who just so happen to agree with me and disagree with you. So.
See, you use the term ultra-Orthodox. I don't know what you mean by that, but, like, you might be referring to me, you might be referring to my friends. I know these people.
You're modern Orthodox or conservative at best.
No, simple Orthodox.
Yeah, okay, simple Orthodox, exactly. Yeah, I'm talking about actually the Shines.
I'm a Jew. Like, I don't know what you think that means. I'm as from as they come.
It means someone who knows
my
Torah.
hat is black, my shirt is white.
Okay, what does that mean? You still don't know that you need to keep Shabbos. And if you don't keep Shabbos, you're not a Jew.
What makes you think I don't keep the Shabbos? Like, you assert these things
I
as if they
didn't say
offend
that.
you. right?
But I didn't say
You
that.
really,
I didn't even say that.
slow down. Let's unpack.
But I didn't even say that.
Slow down.
But I didn't even say that.
Slow
You're
down.
very slow. I didn't say that.
Okay.
You see, why do you keep misrepresenting?
I'm expressing my expertise in Judaism.
You're
To
disingenuous.
judge my expert opinion that you don't know the Torah.
There's nothing expert about you. You don't know that keeping Shabbat is important.
You then distance me from an ultra-Orthodox category and then assert that I violate the Sabbath.
I never said that. You misrepresented me as a whole.
Said I
No,
don't
didn't.
keep the Sabbath.
I didn't say that. You want to misrepresent me as you've been doing since the beginning.
What would you like to say instead of I don't keep the Sabbath?
But I didn't say that. To say something instead of it.
Instead of this thing that I heard you say.
Well, I would suggest that you listen before you open your mouth. That's number one. Number two, because I don't know how you studied Torah if you just talk when someone talks all the time.
No, I'm talking
Number
over
two is,
you at this point.
Yeah, you always do that.
No, always. I listen
Here we
to
go.
what you
Here
say.
we go. So, yeah, well, it's just me saying it. It's Moishe. It's Moishe
Listen,
saying it.
I don't know what it's like putting you so on tilt. Like, yeah, I was done with the conversation. That's why I'm freely thrown.
Okay, then don't talk about it. If you're a coward, don't talk about it.
Okay.
But if you want to talk Torah, let's talk Torah. Right.
I
so
did.
These are not my words.
Randy, it
So,
upset you.
I don't care about your assessment. I care about
It's
Moses.
fine then.
Right. I don't follow you. I follow Moses.
Okay.
Right. Exodus chapter 31, verse 14. Very clear. Take it, leave it. Up to you. Totally up to you. If you don't follow, I'm not saying you don't do Shabbos. I never said that. If you don't follow Sabbath,
you're gone.
no, I didn't say that. I don't know if you keep it or not. I don't care if you. I personally don't care if you keep it or not because I disagree with the way you keep it.
I do.
Okay, I'm happy that you care. I don't care because I disagree with how you keep it anyways. Okay? What I'm telling you is, if you don't keep it, you're not a Jew according to Moshe.
Okay.
The Jew follows Moshe. He doesn't follow Migdad. The Jew who follows Migdad is not a Jew.
The Jew does not follow Moshe. Moshe died.
Well, I'm sad that you think Moshe is dead.
Moshe is dead.
I don't think Moshe is dead.
It says so in the Torah.
That's because he's physically dead.
He's white.
But the spirit doesn't die.
Isn't that true of most of the dead?
I think it is true when it says added to his people. There's a meaning.
So you want to say no one is dead?
Death is a separation from God. That some people are dead even when they're living.
Playing word games. Moses is dead.
That you're more than free to have that belief.
Yeah, I'm just using the English language. But like, you want to play word games, it's fun.
You can again continue to misrepresent me by claiming I play games, when in reality I'm telling you that some people are dead even
You
when
asked
they
me to
live.
read Exodus 2, whatever. Go read the last 9 verses of Deuteronomy and then get back to whether or not Moses died.
Yeah, the last, again, I already explained to you that that's physical death, and death is not limited to that.
Right.
The spiritual death.
He's dead. He's not dead. I get it.
He's physically dead.
Right.
Don't you believe in the resurrection of the dead?
This is how it goes
Do you
in
believe?
Christian places, I assume.
I get you assume, exactly.
I assume it's difficult for you guys to just say dead is dead.
I think it's difficult for you guys to read your Torah.
You mean like when it says Moses died?
I mean, like when it says if you don't keep Shabbos, then you are not a Jew.
We read that.
I
That's
also-
why we keep the Shabbos.
And I'm also referring to the part where it says that death is not only physical. In fact, again, as I said, there is an afterlife and there's the resurrection of the dead. For you to believe that Moshe is dead, I would say it's Chilul Hashem.
Okay, so it's a Chilul Hashem to quote the words of the Torah. Interesting.
It is Chilul Hashem to misinterpret it to satisfy your...
To misinterpret?
Correct.
Moses
Because the Torah, because Moses didn't try to... Moses is not a kid, and neither is God. And he gave you something that is very clear so that you may have no excuse for misinterpreting it. The Torah is a very simple book. It's a very simple book. In fact, it's designed in a way that the biggest retard would
Do
understand.
you find that there's any struggle amongst the Christian community to come to terms with accepting the reality of death?
I think there's a struggle in not the Jewish community, although some Jews like your humble self when it comes to understanding the concept of Torah. which is that death is not something, is that you're speaking about physical death. However, the reason why thou shalt not sin and break God's commandments, because there's an afterlife where you will be judged after death. Therefore, you don't cease to exist after you physically die. Life begins after death, in the reunity with God. So I think you guys don't seem, well, I wouldn't say all you guys, just like you assume all of us. I assure you, I know the Torah more than any Jew you met. So, regardless, you can believe what you want.
I'm charitably going to assume that you lost track of exactly what I asked you, but
No,
I will interpret your answer as a yes.
I would really appreciate it if you stop assuming things.
No, it's fine, Rabbi. Randy, you can just like listen to the end of my sentence. I'm gonna interpret your response as a yes.
You can interpret my Volsac, as far as I'm concerned.
I doubt you remember the question, but it seemed like a very.
The question is very clear. Do you think that the Christians struggle with the concept of death?
And do you remember your answer?
I definitely remembered my answer. I'm cognitively present more than you ever would be, and I told you that I think.
Repeat your answer, please.
Well, I will repeat my answer. Unlike you, I will not assume, because I'm not in the business of assumptions, and I'm not going to express to your community. I will say that there are some Jews like myself who have a difficulty when it comes to understanding the Torah itself and the concept of physical death versus spiritual death, because you, according to your own faith and your sages, believe in
Brian,
judgment
are you
after
there?
death. Therefore, you do not cease to exist after you are separated from your body.
Why do you never check your messages?
You also believe in the resurrection of the dead. Therefore, for you to make these statements shows me that you don't understand the Torah you speak on. So, again, it's not about Christian or Jew.
Excuse me, Rabbi, what are you talking about right now? What are you
I'm
saying?
talking about the spirit
Responding
of the
to
Torah.
the question I asked him, which was, do you think that Christians struggle with accepting the reality of death? This is his answer to that question.
Correct. But it's not the Christians who misunderstand it,
He is actually
neither is it the Jews.
verbatim to what he said the first time.
Because I told you I'm cognitively there.
So,
That's fine.
Rabbi-
I don't know how you, Randy, I understand you're like making an argument, and you probably even think it's maybe persuasive. To me, I hear it as yes. Like, yes, Christians do
Okay,
struggle.
fine. I don't care how you hear it.
Yeah.
See, the prophet Isaiah said, they will hear, but they will not understand. I don't expect you to understand. What I can tell you is that it's not a Christian or Jewish thing. I'm not even giving you the Christian arguments of things. I'm limiting it to your realm. Your rabbis disagree with you.
Okay,
I'm not even telling you
I'll
that.
elaborate. I'll elaborate on why I'm interpreting your answer as a yes. Because
I don't care why you interpret it as a yes.
Fine, so I won't elaborate.
It doesn't matter why you elaborate. I see. I'm very clear with the words I choose. I'm very straightforward with my explanations.
See,
I'm
that's
telling
exactly
you.
Yeah, but Rabbi, you're not capable of having a conversation.
Deflected so fucking fast to saying that my understanding of the Torah is